And what is up? Welcome back. It is Friday night, and you're here with the Average Boys Podcast. It's your boy Crispy, and I'm here with my boy Brian D. Brian D, what is up, my dude?
Yo, Chris, what's going on, buddy?
Good. It's been pretty good. It's been a pretty fun week. Chill, relax, a lot of cool stuff going on.
Oh yeah, tell me about it. What's going on?
We had, of course, I think I talked about this earlier. You and I were off chat. We had a cool boxing match last week. We had, of course, Jake Paul, Anderson Silva threw down, kind of win as best as we thought it was going to go. And Anderson Silva, the legacy, the legend himself from MMA, did not make the cut, got dropped in the last round. Good combo on Jake Paul for what he's doing, but I saw an interview recently about it, right? The Jake Paul situation. And he was saying this one fighter is like, yo, we really got to put a stop to Anderson Silva, or not Anderson Silva, but a stop to a guy like Jake Paul and recognize that he's somewhat of a fighter, that he's learning the sport. He understands it and he respects it. But now it's time to put him in the actual rankings and in the cut, like actually putting people against his own division. Stop picking people out of retirement. Stop picking people that are, past their prime, overaged, overweight, and pick people that are closer to your rank, closer to your weight, and in actual like boxing professions. So it's a smart move. I think it's interesting. I think it's for what Jake Paul has done. I think it's a smart business move.
To do what?
Well, because he's created this whole entire it's a debacle if you think about it, right? Like,
so wait. Are you for or against the statement?
Am I for or what?
Are you for or against the statement?
I'm for it.
So you want him to fight real fighters? Yeah.
Put him in the boxing commission. Let him go by the rankings. Let him earn his way up.
Why would he do that?
But
why would he do that?
Well, because it's just, it's how you kind of get more recognition for what it is that you're doing, right? Like you're already wanting to be a boxer. You want to be a boxer. You want to be the best boxer in the world. You want to call out Canelo, right? That's what he's been doing. He's been calling out Canelo for a while. Right now, it's like we've said before, they're exhibition matches. They're celebrity exhibition matches. There's 100 other people that want to be about that life too. They all want to fight Canelo. Every boxer wants to fight Canelo. Every person that wants to be under him, that wants to win his belts, that wants to beat him. And Logan Paul's or Jake Paul's just going to be this dude that's like, yo, I have 100 million. I'll fight you.
What incentive does he have to do that? Just to prove that he can do it?
That's his whole purpose right now, is that he just wants to prove that he can do it.
I don't think so. I don't know if that's his only reason.
What do you think his purpose would be?
Just to see that he can do it. Just to say that he did it, and that he did it at the highest of levels, and that he's making more money than most of the boxers and most of the MMA fighters.
I agree with the last part, that he is making the most money out of the situation that he's created. Which, if you just listen to
hold on 1 second. If you just listen to what he says, he'll tell you why he's doing it. Like he says, whenever he's talking to Dana White, what's it about? It's about money. It's about the fact that he's making more money than most of the people in the MMA world. Whenever Dana White calls him out, say, hey, why don't you come over here and we'll fight, or we'll put something together? He says, no. Like, why the fuck would I do that? Like, I'm over here making more money, on my own dime, on my own, accord. And why would I fucking go? He has no incentive. There's no incentive other than some macho bullshit that he could have did that if that's what he wanted to do. If he was the situation
that he's in now, because of the fact that he's created it.
But he's created it, which means he's the puppet master. He is in control. If he wanted to fight real fighters, he would have already been doing that. Yeah.
And that's the situation that we're at now. This past pay-per-view, he was able to fight a legacy character, which is Anderson Silva, some 20-something fights in MMA, undefeated, biggest, baddest champion that they ever had, and beat him in the 8th round in a boxing match. and no one bought the pay-per-views. Like the pay-per-views were so below that Jake Paul came out and said, I lost millions. I lost millions of dollars on this pay-per-view, and I don't know why people are watching it. Well, the reason why people are watching it is because you are the puppet master, because you are setting up your own fights. You're picking the people that you're picking and choosing that you want to fight with, which are people that are either under your weight class, several ages above you, not ranked at the same level as you. You know, there's a bunch of things, and that's why the commissions are all established for boxing and MMA, because they go through the rankings and all that other stuff. Yeah, you get people that end up getting power because they're bigger sellers, which is like Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor right now can retire, do a bunch of steroids like they're claiming he's doing right now, bulk up 30 pounds, and then come back and call out John Jones, and they'll set up a John Jones fight with him and pay him just as well. But that's because he makes the sales. If Jake Paul wanted to fight Canelo, Canelo's already said it in an interview. He said, I have hundreds of people asking if they could fight me, but who the fuck have you fought? Like, I'm not going to fight you if you're just some fucking dude that's just fighting nobodies. Like, what do you got? One guy that got a belt? I'm going to fight you. So
Why
what
not?
are the odds?
Why not? Why, if you're Canelo, why would you not take that fight?
Because Canelo's already making that kind of money.
And this is an easy payday.
But he doesn't want easy paydays. He wants real fighters.
Yeah, I understand that, but there's more. There's incentive there though. Like that's the reason why Mayweather took that fight. Mayweather is the greatest boxer of all. Like I get it, Canelo's great, but
yeah, but Canelo,
the greatest fighter of all, the greatest fighter of all time took that fight.
Yeah, so but Mayweather's a money man. Mayweather's not going to waste his time for cash.
We're all money man. Listen, I get it, like the pride of boxing and shit like that.
Yeah,
but Canelo, but it's not that. It's you got it. You can't throw out the window that money has a lot to do with this. Canelo ducks fights too. This ain't just this isn't just fucking. I'm a huge boxing fan, so when you talk boxing, like we can talk that shit all day. Canelo ducks fights all the fucking time if the money's not right. He has been ducking smoke his entire fucking career. He never even asked for another rematch against Mayweather. He ducks smoke all the fucking time. So it's about money with all of them.
I mean, it's always going to be about money.
Like so it's not about this. Oh, I don't want to just fight him because I want to fight the best fighters. Fuck that.
But he also wants to be able to put on exciting fights, though. He doesn't want to go out there and just beat the shit out of a kid.
If that was the case, I don't understand why not. When you can make the same payday and not have to worry about breaking something, you know what I'm saying? Like you're about the money. It's already known that it's about the fucking money. So just I mean, I can see him taking that fight. I don't think a reason for him not taking that fight is because he doesn't think that this kid would give him competition. I think that's the last thing. I think it's the last thing on his mind, to be honest with you.
It's just one of those things that for Canelo to be in the sport of boxing and for him to just move over to this thing that literally took all the attention from Lomachenko fighting this past weekend, like took the entire thing just on the debacle of it being a YouTuber versus an ex-MMA fighter. Like, and Lomachenko being one of the biggest draws in boxing and not making the numbers as Jake Paul did. Like, I think it's one of those things, like they see that, and you can argue with it all day, but the numbers speak for themselves when you look at it and say that boxing is a great sport and it's okay where it's at, but it's losing views and viewership to YouTubers fighting each other.
But that's not the reason why they're losing. I don't agree that that's the reason why no one watched that fight.
I mean, Lomachenko is probably one of the biggest talking points in boxing, and it had some weak numbers this past weekend. No one watched that fight because no one wanted to watch that fight. It was a foregone conclusion that Lomachenko was going to destroy this kid, and that's exactly what he did. That's the reason why no one watched the fight. It wasn't because of fucking Jake Paul and Anderson Silva. I don't believe that one bit. I think no one watched it because no one wants to see Lomachenko versus that kid. Like nobody wants to see that. What we want to see is Lomachenko against Tank and against Errol Spence. Like these people that are known names. They won't even give Lomachenko a shot. They have been ducking Lomachenko smoke. I think Lomachenko is heavier though than Tank Davis, no? I think that would be a super featherweight class. They're not even in the same weight class.
They're not that far off. They can definitely make that happen if they wanted to make that happen. So again, that's neither here or there anyway. But still, like no one's giving Lomachenko a shot. He has to fight whoever they're giving him, and no one wants to see it. He destroys these people. That's the reason why no one bought that fight.
Yeah, same height. Stance and reach is pretty much the same. I don't know what their weights are though, man. I wish you gave me a weight on this thing.
That should be easy to find out though.
Yeah, because I know that it says that the fight would take place over 12 rounds in a super featherweight. So, I mean, that's the same thing. Like a lot of people are like, well, why don't you fight Conor McGregor? Conor McGregor is way heavier than him, like in a boxing match. Hey, what's up, Vince? How's it going, my dude? Sub guys hope the Logan Paul versus Roman is a good match. Okay, so that's the other thing too with Logan Paul, Jake Paul doing one thing, which is boxing. Logan Paul's doing his wrestling stuff. How do you feel about him in the wrestling thing? I think I just saw a video where he was training with Shawn Michaels. That he was doing a training session. What's his face?
Oh,
Logan
okay.
Paul.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about Logan Paul in the WWE? Does he do good? Like, does he put on a show? Like,
This is some. I don't even really watch it, to be honest with you. I'm not interested in that match. That's like some type of like meta shit they got going on because it's basically just them mirroring what's going on in the world. He went like the both of them are just going into just random sports and getting the top bill, and they're taking over. So I mean, listen, I don't knock anyone for their hustle.
Yeah.
More power to them.
But how do you feel like you being, I know you're a real diehard wrestling fan. Like,
Yeah.
how do you feel that Logan Paul does in the showmanship part for the WWE and stuff like that in wrestling? Like, is he able to carry and put on a show?
Yeah. He's a very charismatic person. Yeah. So you put him in any, I think that's what works, is that if you put him in any environment, he's gonna be able to succeed. So
now do you feel like it's a positive thing for him? Like in the WWE, do you feel like he has a good footstone and he has something that like his charismatics can kind of push him into being like maybe a superstar one day?
if he chooses to, I think that kid can do whatever he wants.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. That's a real good way to put it. I know that he already did one match against Rey Mysterio.
Oh, they're the same size, dude. Tank Davis and Lomachenko.
Yeah, no, they're the same size. What are they on weight class?
They're in the same. They're in the same. Tank has fought lightweight, so it's the same division. They can meet. That can totally happen. And they've been ducking. And like I said, they've been ducking Lomachenko for years. All of them. They've been ducking this kid. And that fight against it was Loma and fuck, I can't think of the kid's name, but it was like probably the Lomachenko's third fight. Tio. The fight against Tio, he won that fight, but they gave it to fucking Tio, and no one has ever given him another shot, which is a fucking travesty. That's the reason why no one's watching boxing. It's not because of fucking Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva, bro. That's not what happened there.
I mean, but you got to understand that that's also a point to it. You have to understand that because of the pull that it has. Because people want to see Anderson Silva for who he is, and someone wants to see the Paul brothers get stopped in whatever it is that they're doing. It's the champion demise. It's the whole like you want to see someone that's at the very top. You want to see them fail.
Did you really think? All right, I get that. Did you really think that Anderson Silva was the one that was going to do that? Honestly,
did I think he was going to beat Jake Paul?
Yeah,
I did. I was going for Anderson Silva.
Because okay, but
I mean, why wouldn't you? What would be the draw that you would say no? Fuck that.
Because he's not a boxer.
He's a striker. He's one of the top strikers in the world. If you think about it, kickboxing, Muay Thai, you name it, and it's a part of the striking world.
Used to be.
Now, are you talking about his age now?
I'm not saying that. I didn't say anything about his age. You said that he's one of the top strikers in the world, and I'm saying
he's one of the top strikers. If you were to so if you were to put him in an MMA fight with Jake Paul, who do you think would win?
Something's not adding. Well, that's not what we have here.
Because boxing and MMA are two different sports. There's a limitation to it.
Exactly.
In boxing, your output is in the first round you take 75 to 120 punches. Okay. In MMA, you take 15 punches, 20 punches. Your 3 rounds.
So why would you think that Anderson Silva would have the advantage there then?
It's one of those things like you have to be able to change the theme of your style of fighting because of the fact that the output of punches that you take in boxing, you have to be able to absorb more. You have to be able to absorb and you have to be able to capitalize with those and keep working.
Okay.
There's a different strategy to the way that you go into it.
Okay. I'm following.
Yeah, and I just think it's one of those things that a lot of the times the technical parts of boxing, which is like the angle cutting, the slipping, the rolling, any of the different styles of systems that are inside boxing, being the Philly, the changing gear, the Dempsey style, you change them all up, even the whole like Mike Tyson, Philly, the shell, you name it, whatever you want to do, the peekaboo, anything that you want to do in separate styles, they all have a different strategy on the inside. MMA isn't that technical.
I just don't think there was a world where Anderson Silva was winning that fight. This kid Jake Paul has been training to be a boxer and a boxer only for the better part of the last like 5 years.
Well, if you go back and watch the fight, the first several rounds, Anderson Silva is maintaining the fight, but he's winning by points and by keeping range, throwing a lot of throwaway punches, just keeping Jake Paul at bay. What he wasn't anticipating for is the combo setup that he set up at the very end, which was a one cut out body and post. He wasn't anticipating the post cut
because the guy's a fucking boxer.
Well, the technique is different. The technique is a different approach, and that's what we're talking about. It's a different strategy on how you approach the system. But if you were going to take Jake Paul and put him in a different scenario, there's no way he wins that fight.
Well, he's not trained to be an MMA fighter.
Yes, he is. He trains both of them. He trains both.
Well, he's not a trained MMA fighter, I should say. He's not a trained MMA fighter. He's a boxer. And Anderson Silva is not a boxer, but he can strike. Like you said, he's a striker. So that's the reason why it will always be a boxing match as opposed to, of course, if it was if it was an MMA fight, no one's picking Jake Paul to win that fight. Like, I don't know.
I mean, even if you were to put him, even if you go off of the idea of kickboxing, because that's the same thing as me saying, okay, cool. Like, well, who do you take in a fight between Jake Paul and Israel Adesanya? Like, who do you take between those two in a boxing?
A boxing match?
Israel Adesanya, the Black Dragon.
I know who he is.
Dude's an animal, man.
Well aware.
Yeah.
But I would probably still lean towards Jake Paul. He is a boxer. This guy, these MMA fighters, they train everything. When you're training on everything, you can't be a master at one thing. You're training on everything. So no matter how good of a striker you are, I don't care what MMA fighter you put. I'm sorry. I don't care what MMA fighter you bring. If you put him in a pure boxing match with a professional boxer that's got like training underneath him, I don't see the MMA fighter winning. I just don't see it.
For me, it's one of those things like as a martial artist, you have to study and respect all different systems. So that would be the equivalence to saying that you don't think an MMA fighter could or should be as successful in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu match. Same thing as a wrestling match, not wrestling like WWE, but like collegiate style wrestling, because that's what we call checkers over chess. That's what we call this sport, is that there's a lot more detail and a lot of a different system work in each individual style, rather than it being like a generic umbrella under the MMA flag, where you can just throw a bunch of stuff, change the systems, change the format of the fight on the whim, right? So that's kind of like what when we're training on the kind of aspects that we have to throw out. Because like I have my student, Aaron, mixed martial artist. He's, I think like 2-1 in his MMA career. He was 2-0 in his amateur fight. Now he's trying to break in. We're trying to get him into boxing because we train at a boxing gym. I teach at a boxing gym. And we get to practice with boxers. One of our guys is Angel Hernandez. He's an HBO fighter, fights dudes that fought like in the high cards, part of HBO Max or HBO Friday Night Fights. Like he's been a part of it, and he's kind of like this really great like a resource that we have, that we get to kind of like bounce ideas off of what we work with in our MMA style and our kickboxing style, and we get to bounce it off him to get different variations and different views on how we approach the boxing format. Because Aaron, my fighter, every day runs like 2.5, 3 miles every day, pumps them out right before training, comes back, does his shadow boxing, comes in, does this and that. And it never fails that when he does his MMA, kickboxing, or anything like that, he can go rounds, 9, 10, 12 rounds. But the moment we put him in a boxing sparring, 3 rounds, he's already like, "Oh fuck, I'll go 4, but fuck, I'm not making it to 5." And it's just a different,
it's a different animal. It's a different animal. And listen, I love MMA, but I grew up on boxing, and I just have a different. I respect MMA, but I also just can't disregard the fact that boxing in its own right is a very technical and difficult sport.
Yeah, I tell people all the time that boxing is the best hand martial arts in the world.
So just for some MMA fighter that is a good striker to think that he's gonna step inside the ring and walk through someone that's been training for like the last like 3 years of just pure boxing, I'm gonna have a hard time believing that's gonna go in the way of the MMA fighter. You're gonna have to show me. You're gonna have to show me.
So then, how do you feel then with the thing that you were saying earlier? We were talking about how he's created this.
Yeah, we made a whole segment about fucking.
Yeah, we already fucking remember we talked about like, yeah, we'll fucking breeze by this shit. You were like, man, I don't even give a fuck about that fight.
We're talking way too long about this bullshit. Because you know what? For all those that are listening, let me just lighten the mood a little bit because this guy Chris was like, "Oh yeah, did you watch that fight?" I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here! I'm not watching that.
I'm not gonna watch that fight."
I would rather fucking do anything else in the world than watch that fucking fight. There's no way I was watching that fight.
I got to see it, and then with me, I just got to see the highlights. Because I was like, I don't even know who else was on the fucking card. I don't even know.
No one fucking knows because no one watched that bullshit.
Card, apparently.
Yeah, no one watched that bullshit.
You know who is very interesting though? From that whole fucking format of like these YouTube fighters, there's this one fucking cat called Salt Poppy. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No.
Tell me you know who this fucking guy is.
Why would I know who Salt Poppy is?
Dude, I don't know.
And why do you know who Salt Poppy is?
So they did like some fucking fight card a while back where they bought a bunch of YouTubers to fight each other.
Okay.
And they brought this one
dude. Sounds familiar.
So Salt Poppy's that one guy on TikTok that always fake runs. He's like a chubby Asian guy, and he always fake runs in videos. He has like a real funny one that's like it's like a Modern Warfare. Like he's fucking running through a map with sticks and he's fucking killing everybody. I guarantee you've probably seen a fucking video with this cat.
I don't know.
Dude, he gets called out by this other fucking weird chubby YouTube guy, and that guy's talking hella mad shit. And this guy just comes out and he's like, I want to thank God. I want to thank my trainers. I want to thank, and he's like, I'm going to let my hands do the talking at the fucking press, right? And everyone was like, oh, like, you know, they're just hyping it up. Yeah. Lo and behold, this motherfucker comes in and cleans this guy's clock, dude. Salt Poppy comes and just fucking destroys this cat.
If I never hear the name Salt Poppy,
it is the coolest
again,
Cinderella story ever.
I don't care about Salt Poppy, Chris.
I guarantee you're gonna fucking after the podcast today, you're gonna be like, God, I'm gonna look this stupid shit up. Or you know what?
I'm gonna say I have already deleted that shit from my memory bank.
I'm gonna say it loud enough that your phone is gonna listen in and just manually start like throwing in Salt Poppy videos on your YouTube channel for no fucking reason. And then you're gonna watch this motherfucker box this dude out, and you're gonna be like, okay, that was funny as fuck.
Hold on, why is his name Salt Poppy though?
I don't know. I have no. Fuck, I'm just guessing, but he does something with salt. Fuck, I don't know. It's a chubby guy. He does a lot of retention of water. I don't know, dude. I'm real fucking lost on it myself, dude.
He said, I don't know. He probably just does something with salt.
Fuck, I don't know. He licks a salt rock, dude. I don't know what he does. Dude, you know what? And he's always doing this fucking like
oh god. We gotta reel it back in.
What's that face that people do when they point to their fucking vein? That shit. That's he's always doing that face. He looks stupid all the time.
We're out of control. We need to get back on track here. We need to get back on track.
I think he did like a fucking where he would go challenge people at like fucking baseball, like basketball courts, dude. Dude has salt in his hands. Dude's salt has hands. Bro, like, hands. Guys, I am not lying. That guy he fucking beat the shit out of that guy so good. You know what? It was like you know who Matt Reeves is? Or Mike Reeves? That fucking kid that's like the engineer?
No.
You know, so that's another one. He's like, a lot of people compare him to like a young Tony Stark kind of kid. He's always
like in real life,
fucking crazy inventions and shit.
In real life?
Yeah, in real life. So he did the boxing match, and he fucking clean clock on the other cat too. It's so cool to watch these fucking people just beat the shit out of each other.
But these are what you say these are
They're
TikTok guys.
fucking, yeah, they're just regular dudes. They're just fucking.
You're watching TikTok guys just beat up on each other in the fucking ring.
And you know what?
You have to admit, no, I want you to admit right now on your show that you find entertainment from YouTubers beating the shit out of each other. Say it. Say it.
I find entertainment by watching people who are not as professional as other people beat the fuck out of each other.
Yo,
did
you ever used to watch bum fights back in the day?
What do you mean? I lived the bum fights, bro. We were fucking putting fucking cars together, beat the shit out of each other in streets long before that shit was popular.
I would rather watch a new and updated version of bum fights and watch YouTubers.
Hey, they're still out there, dude. Bum fights is still fucking out there. Like
people in the comments. Do you guys remember bum fights, or am I just old, bro? Like that used to be my shit.
I remember that video where that fucking dude in the bum fights is like an MMA fighter, and they bring in the guy and they bring in like the fucking, what was that shit where they gave him nunchucks and they let him beat the shit out. You remember that video?
Now
I don't know how far you got into fucking bum fights,
now you're talking about like fucking some Mortal Kombat shit.
I keep telling
you're
people
talking about Mortal Kombat.
The idea on how sports evolves is so wild, because sooner or later it's just punching each other isn't enough. You need more blood. Then it's like, then gloves are too big. You need more. You need less gloves. Then it's like hands aren't enough. You need sticks. Then the fucking ring is too much. There's no ropes. Now it's like fucking cement walls with spikes on it. Like
fucking Mad Max is fucking Mad Maxine.
You want to know how I'm telling you it's true is because like later on it became those dudes in the Knights outfits beating the fuck out of each other in MMA fights. And you know what I'm talking about too. Those Russian people are fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Russians do the wildest shit, man. I'm trying to see if I could find the highlight video of this guy, but
listen.
I would totally show it to you, but
do not put Salt Babe or Salt Boy.
I was gonna let him do the face and do the fake running. You know what's even funnier than that? Like he does the fake running thing that he does on TikTok. You know that shit? But he does that as his like celebration, bro. Like, can you imagine a dude like doing a fake ass run on you after he knocks you out? Like that would suck ass.
What's his name? Salt Man.
Salt Poppy, man. Salt Poppy. He's going to say some shit like, keep my name on your mouth, or you guys get it right, or whatever. He's going to say some shit. You already know it. You already know it. It's disgusting. Yeah, so I end up going down this weird rabbit hole of watching a bunch of like YouTubers just beat the shit out of each other. And some of them were cool because, you know, some of them are loudmouth guys or whatever. And yeah, they're all kind of like off of the idea of trying to get that the Paul brothers like clout, and it just doesn't work out the same way. But going back to the original idea of the conversation, right? Fucking segue. I ended up seeing the fight a little bit through the highlight. It was shout out to Jake Paul for the way that he pulled the win off. It was a nice combination. Of course, there's a lot of people out there that are saying like it's rigged or it's fixed. Like no, if you watch the combination that was used that Jake Paul did on Anderson Silva, it's a legitimate
weak ass combination. Get out of here.
It works,
bro.
Man. It works. That shit works. He cut the corner, he posted, and he got him with his stuff too. It was a good setup. I didn't think it was work, but it was textbook on how it connected.
That lazy ass 3-piece, and that right there shows you why Anderson Silva's old ass had no business being in that fucking ring. I get it, you got a payday, I get it, but you had no business being in that ring at all.
Speaking of payday, I think if I'm not mistaken, Jake Paul made $1 million, and Anderson Silva made 500,000 before getting his pay-per-view and ticket sales money. That's a pretty good payday. I'm not gonna lie, it's a hell of a payday. Yeah, same thing as Ben Astrick and all those other guys, man. Good payday. So, but what do you feel? Okay, so like, where do you think it goes next? So for these guys, I know it's not something that's really on your radar. Like, you really don't give a fuck. Like, they can work at McDonald's for all you give a shit. But like, where does it go from here? Like, do you think this format of Jake Paul picking and choosing like Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he's going to choose Steven Seagal next, and then he'll choose fucking Ronaldo from soccer. Like, do you think it's okay for him to be choosing these boxing matches and calling it a boxing career, and then acting? And
If
Because like
people
the
are
two people,
if people are buying it, then the answer is yes. That's the way that this man chose or is choosing to make his money.
his money right
It
now.
seems to be lucrative. I don't know what other uh industry or place of employment where you can get paid $1.2 million
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
in an hour.
And pay your friend 500,000 at the same time.
Yeah. They were
Okay,
having
so
they were having fun. Like I didn't see the fight, but I can just tell they weren't out there trying to kill each other. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like it was an easy payday. I can see the allure of this
yeah.
to major boxing fans or major boxing fighters. Listen, if the guy found his niche, then more power to him.
So two things came out of this boxing match, or this boxing setup exhibition stuff that they're doing. One is the next two people that Jake Paul has called out to fight are Nick Diaz and Canelo. And he also, if I'm not mistaken, casually called out Masvidal, but that was kind of like in the whim or whatever. Then Logan Paul came out and told Jake Paul that he should retire on top. Like he should just retire from all this stuff and stop doing it. And I'm guessing that's because of the big loss that they had in money from this past fight.
Which one of those fights, the fights that you just named, you named three. Which one of those
sounds
fights?
more entertaining?
No, or which one do you? No, I don't want to know which one sounds more entertaining, but you can tell me that too. But I want to know which one do you think he will take if you were to take one of those three?
Probably Diaz.
Why?
Because he just beat Anderson Silva and Diaz beat his older brother, or was it him?
I don't think he takes. I don't think he takes any of those. I don't know if he takes any of those fights.
Well, there was a crazy altercation that happened in the back of the center with Diaz's guys. Like they just all showed up and they started getting rowdy with like everybody. They got kicked out of the whole arena or whatever. So there is like, but I don't know if that's any real as it can get. Yeah, Nick Diaz, the Diaz brothers are free agents right now. They showed up to this event and they just started causing a ruckus, which I mean, it goes for cool publicity. But like, how much does Jake Paul want to be a part of like the gangster community? You know what I mean? Like to try to like actually go against someone who's like kind of like street credit up, kind of like a thuggin' character, not a person that's really about doing business. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's the only one that people would pay.
I think it's a stronger pool.
People would pay to see him and Canelo, but that would be like the end of his boxing career.
Yeah, because you kind of already have an idea of what's going to happen. Because I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, what would you vouch for? I would say Canelo probably takes the entire fight.
I mean, if he takes the entire fight, then it's for sure that these fights are fixed and that they're in cohesion with each other. Like there's no world where Jake Paul gets in the ring with Canelo Alvarez and lasts the full fight. That's just
and fucking dominates him or fucking even lasts
a couple rounds. Yeah, that's not. It
just doesn't make sense. Like to me, it doesn't make sense.
That's just not reality.
I mean, even in the aspect of his training for 6 years of boxing, you put that to the entire experience of Canelo's entire career.
Yeah, that's not even fathomable, to be honest with you. So he definitely does not take that fight because if his whole allure is the fact that he's undefeated and that you're just waiting for him to lose. If he signs a deal with Canelo, that's a loss. So then he no longer has there's no spectacle aspect of his career at that point. So he's not taking that. That to me is like a career ender.
That's a career ending move.
Masvidal, I can see that, but if it was between Masvidal and Nick Diaz, I just think that the way that Nick Diaz promotes a fight will sell the tickets. So I think that out of those three, he probably goes after Nick Diaz. And there's already the groundwork because he was at that last fight. So
you know what? And I'll break it down. I was not a big fan of this Masvidal Diaz fight. It was boring as fuck, man.
Well, because you
were getting what you were getting. You know what I mean? Like both fighters, they come out, they throw, they do their thing. But like I kind of think that
I'm
Their
not a big. I'm
charisma
not
is
a.
what
I'm
sells the
not a
fight
big.
more.
I'm not a big Diaz fan, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Like they're fucking losers. Like I get it, they're tough as nails, both of them. They're
Yeah.
the Diaz brothers are tough as fucking nails, and
And their
they
setups are funny.
yeah, I like it, but they take L's all the time. Like I
Yeah.
am never enthused about a fucking Diaz brothers fight. I'm sorry, I
Like
just
I've never been a big person on the idea that the Diaz brothers have the best striking in MMA or the best boxing in MMA. They used to have this big claim that they were the best boxers in MMA.
they honestly, I think they were at a point. I think
I think it's
Nick
just a
Nick
weird long system, but it's not like the best striking in MMA.
Nick Diaz was an excellent striker, and I still think he is still an excellent striker. So I think that if he gets in a ring with this kid Jake Paul, yeah, that would be an interesting fight.
I think it'd be fun, but I think their bodies are way too long and they throw way too loopy. Like they're Gumby-ish. They're very slinky-ish when they throw their punches. They need to be a lot tighter. I think their boxing it just needs. I think it just needs to be clean. I had a friend of mine from down here. He fought their boxing guy. They have an actual boxing guy on their team that's like a really excellent striker. And the guy from down here is the one that cleaned him, Ricky Palacios. He did really, really well, Guile. He did really, really good against his boxing guy. And Ricky's a boxer too. So the striking, it was just striking clinic the whole fucking fight. And it was for the Ultimate Contender Series also.
Mhm.
So a really good fight. But Ricky, we know Ricky's background because he trains, he's trained at the gym that we're a part of with Coach Oscar Tovar. And we've seen what he could do. And the guy's a fucking G in boxing, clean as fuck. And he did, but he comes from boxing to MMA. So like seeing that aspect of getting him to fight against a guy who went and was just kind of a part of all those systems at once, which is like the Diaz guy, they're a boxing fighter. And then for Ricky to do very well against him, it was very interesting to kind of use that as a basis of like, okay, cool. Like you can kind of like gauge where this guy's boxing and where their boxing should be if they're learning from this guy.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So after that fight happened, I was kind of a little bit more reserved about my idea of thinking the Diaz brothers were like really, really excellent boxers in the MMA career. So to see him try to do some boxing fight, I think it'd be kind of weird. I think it'd be kind of silly, but I think the charismatic nature of the Diaz brothers would be really exciting to have with the Jake Paul brothers to get it all set up in a big fight. But now that you're asking me that question and breaking it down, I think Masvidal would be the nicer pull. I think he would be the serious fighter and take it a little bit more serious. But I think he's one of those guys that's kind of like Woodley, like trains the same way and thinks the same way, and it might be a better opportunity for Jake to take the fight against him. So, yeah, that's where I would see it. So, yeah, that's about it for that talk. Onwards to the next part of the conversation. So, this past weekend, we also had the opportunity of doing a really, really cool event called NanoCon Volume 1. We had at the 80s Brewery. Brian was not able to make it this time. He was out of town.
I was.
Yeah, he's definitely out of town. But definitely we'll be bringing Brian down sooner or later for one of the events, which is great. But Brian didn't make it, but we did have another celebrity in town, which we had RJ Mitty from Breaking Bad, Walter White's son, Walter White Jr., as a lot of people like to call him. And it turned out very, very well. We had a really great time. A lot of people showed up. It was a good event. We had a lot of championships when it came to the video game tournaments. Cool vendor spot. We look like we're going to be doing another one sooner than later. A Star Wars event with the person that runs the 80s Brewery. So we'll be talking about that sooner or later. Yeah, that was what my weekend was like in a nutshell. So
Nice.
Pretty cool little event. And what about you, Brian? Since you didn't watch the Jake Paul fight
last week,
how was your Halloween, man? It was fucking Halloween.
It was Halloween. I mean, I'm a little bit too old for Halloween, so I really didn't do shit. I didn't get a lot of kids that came out. So I really didn't do anything. I don't go out. I don't really celebrate Halloween like this. No? It's not. Yeah, it's not. For me, it's one of those. I guess traditions for kids. For me, how many times am I gonna go out to a bar and see the sexy cop or the slutty witch and just get drunk and make bad decisions? or go to a house party and just get wasted. Like
Just
it's
get
the
wasted.
same shit. It's the same shit every fucking year.
Just to,
So
it
I
can
didn't
kind
really
of
do
feel like it's
anything.
an excuse
I
for
just
coming.
stayed home. Yeah, I just stayed home. Kicked it last Sunday. Went out with a bunch of friends. We ended up going to a friend's house and watched the Dallas Cowboys game and just chilled out for a little bit. So it was a nice, fun, relaxing weekend. So yeah.
Excellent. We, like I said, got to do the event. Halloween was really weird this week too because it was like on a Monday. So it kind of felt like a little awkward too because it was past the weekend, but the weekend was pretty cool. Again, we did the competition. One of my costumes, well, two of my costumes showed up to the event. One of them won $450 and then went back the same night to the club after our event and went and won that competition too. So really, really happy that someone in one of the costumes I built this past years went out and won some cash over close to $1,000. So that made me feel good.
Do they serve alcohol at the 80s brewery?
Yes, you could buy alcohol because the brewery was active at the part. So the way the guy wants to run it now is more like a Buffalo Wild Wings where you can go during the day, take your kids, kind of relax a little bit, have the arcades and all that stuff. So he wants to kind of get out of that clubbing scene vibe.
So what is it? Mostly like beers and like
they do have their own in-house beers, but they do have like a full-fledged liquor, like a liquor license to sell, mixed drinks, mixologies and stuff. And they have their own foods. They do like panini sandwiches and they do like turkey clubs and all, just bar food. I think sooner or later it'll change. And what's cool is like right next to the bar are some other clubs. One of them does like brick fire pizzas. Okay. And then on the other side, they do like street tacos.
Nice.
And they're pretty good. Expensive, small, but the taste is flavorful. So, if they were a little bit bigger, they would be more up my alley. But since they're so small, they're all right. But other than that, yeah, 80s music, cool video games, just a really cool vibe in the whole situation. Overall, it was a cool event. Overall, it was a very nice event, and it excites me for the ones that we'll be having later on. Maybe one day hold our own. That would be pretty cool too. So, and like I said, it was really cool catching up with RJ again. So he'll be taking off for a little bit. I think he's right now in LA. He's doing some stuff up there, and then he'll be coming back to the Valley, and hopefully we can set something up, probably bring him on the show, have him come in and talk a little bit. There is a film that he did recently that I'm really excited about. He got to work with one of John Machado, which is one of the highest black belts in the Machado family, the son of John Machado also, but his son. They were in a wrestling film, and another film that he did that I'm really excited about was Isaac, where he did a film with Dove Cameron, and he plays like this. I don't know if you remember Robin Williams movie Photography, the photography 1 hour photo. Did you ever see that movie or no?
No.
It kind of takes this character and it puts him like in a creeper role. So like in the movie, from what I got from Isaac, RJ plays a like a dude who does autopsies, like an autopsy specialist.
Okay.
But he ends up getting this character, which is Dove Cameron's character, a dead body. But then he kind of like begins to believe in like an asphyxiation with her, thinking that he had a relationship with her. And then he ends up kind of slowly going crazy, trying to figure out who killed her. Like it just looks very suspenseful, very it twists and turns, very like, one of those like cool, I don't know how to explain it, but you can check it out. If you guys ever check it out, go to YouTube, type in Isaac film, RJ Mitty, check it out. He looks awesome. The film looks great. It's got a great cast. I want to be able to interview him and talk to him about it because it'd be cool. It'd be cool to have him in. Sounds dope. But other than that, we got some nerd things coming out and nerd stuff. Of course, we have, let's see. As of today, actually, we'll start breaking into our nerd conversation. Logan's Daphne Keene is going to be in Star Wars Alkalite. Are you familiar with the story Alkalite yet? Like, have you kind of heard anything about it or whatnot?
No, I haven't. No.
I believe it's going to be more of a story based on the dark side. And from what they were talking about and what I heard in a podcast the other day was, so you look at The Mandalorian and you look at the way that they film Andor, where you have a physical set or you have a set that's kind of like enclosed and they use like that technology, the bubble technology, which is what they did with The Mandalorian. Are you familiar with what they did with The Mandalorian or no?
It's just basically, it's just one like basic, one big ass fucking green screen. Yeah, I know what it is. Yeah.
So it's a big panoramic green screen or screen itself that kind of portrays an image or a background done like in Blender or in Maya or some type of like background building program. So in The Mandalorian, you can kind of tell certain parts where it's like an in-house set like that.
Yeah.
And then you look at Andor, and Andor's on location, like in New Zealand, where they're like on spots where there's like cliffs and mountains and all this beauty to like nature and stuff. You can tell the difference in the both type of shots. Well, a lot of people are starting to say like the Mando show, like it kind of gets a little bit underwhelming with the backgrounds when they look really fake. And then you end up, because that's what happened with Boba. Boba had like a lot of that weird, like where you know that they were like on a set and it just didn't feel like a natural like spot. It just felt like just a set of desert or whatever. But they were saying Game of Thrones, the one that's going on right now, what is it, House of Dragons?
Yeah.
The House of Dragons is using a mixture of both, and it looks really, really great. That they're pulling off a lot of these big sets with like the volume set, and it's coming out very, very well. But apparently that they're going to be using that same technology and that same type of setup for the Alkalite movies. So it's going to be not the way they did Boba, not the way they did Mando. It's going to be a mixture between the way they did the House of Dragons and the way they're doing Andor right now.
Okay.
Now I stopped watching Andor after like the 5th episode. Are you still watching it right now or no?
The season finale is already. It's the season.
That's what I'm waiting for. I kind of like. I think I got to the episode where that dude went to his mom's house, and he was just chilling. And I think like the next day they were talking about calling his uncle. And I hadn't watched it since then. I know that there's been a couple of reveals, and they had an actor come out of nowhere in episode 9, which was Andy Sykes, which is the dude that played Smeagol, and he played, of course, he's the voice of what's his not Smog, but the dude from what's the fucking guy's name? The bad guy in the fucking Star Wars movies in the last trilogy at the beginning, Snoke. He was the voice of Snoke. So I'm kind of interested to see how they're going to use him. I wonder if he's going to be like the mediating like character. They're like, hey, dude, let's start cloning this guy and make him into a Snoke character. And that's where we end up getting his cool voice later on. And that's why they like bring him in. But like I said, I haven't seen it since episode 5. So I got to catch up to a couple of these episodes. So I'm really excited. So have you gotten far on Andor yet or no? Or did you stop?
I just haven't watched the finale. So
you're caught up on it.
Yeah.
So how are you liking it so far?
Listen, it's probably one of the better, if not the best
streaming Star Wars.
Yeah, the only thing that's better is probably Mando. This is pretty good. Yeah, it's really good.
Sweet. I was actually going to catch up on it this weekend because I know that they're coming up already with the ending. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to go. So I'll definitely be checking it out now for sure. If you're watching it and you're liking it, I know it's going to be good. That's all I know.
Honestly, I haven't brought it up because I didn't know whether or not you were still watching it. I know you weren't really too big on it. And I have been saying that it's been growing on me. So I have been a fan of it the entire way. So
I think the only thing that I said before that I wasn't digging was like the pace. Like the pace was a little bit slow, but the pace was working for me because the characters are being developed very well. So each character I was kind of like getting more connected to, and I was feeling it. Vince says Andor is blast so far. Why, Vince? You got to let us know in the comment section if you're going to be making big accusations.
Bro, this guy Vince, man, he doesn't like shit, bro.
Vince, if you're going to drop big knowledge like that, you got to make sure you let us know why, though.
I dig it. You know what? Like, Vince is consistent. I can appreciate that about Vince. He's very consistent.
So, of course, so we have. I don't have very much a lot. I just know that they're doing that type of format when it comes to the way they're going to film, which is pretty exciting. But to know that Daphne Keane from Logan, which played the little girl, what's her name? X-23 Laura? Yeah, Laura or Lauren.
Lola? Okay.
Yeah, it's Lauren.
Gotcha.
To know that she's coming out is pretty cool. I mean, we've kind of been waiting for the anticipation of her to be used a lot more in film. We know that she's been used a couple of times in other TV shows. And we talked about the idea of her hopefully reprising her role one day of X-23, the Lauren character in the Marvel universe. Now that we're getting closer to Secret Wars, there is a high possibility that we know, like back in the day, a couple years ago, Disney did acquire the rights to the mutants and all that stuff, and we're just waiting for them to apply them. Does this give us kind of like a little bit more like opportunity to be a little bit more positive on the idea that she may be an occurring character later on in Marvel also?
I haven't really thought about it. I don't necessarily. I mean, I liked her as X-23. I just, if I see her again, that's cool. If I don't, that's cool as well, I guess is the answer. She doesn't have that big of a lasting impression on me that I need to see her again.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, of course, too, she was like, what, like 8 the last time we saw her on film like that?
Yeah.
Like 8 or 9, so we'll see where it goes from there. Other than that, the Star Wars world, I really haven't heard too much about. Now going on to our next part of the conversation. Did you hear about what's up with this stuff about Henry Cavill and The Watcher, the Witcher? I mean, so what happened with that?
Apparently he walked off. He just walked off the show. I think that his contract was up, and they did not give him or offer him the money that he wanted. So as Henry Cavill does when he doesn't get what he wants, he just dips, which I salute. Listen, this is my price. I'm Henry Cavill. I'm fucking Superman. If you want me, which I think he's gonna regret this, because outside of Superman, this was it. Like, this was gonna be like his thing. Like he doesn't really sell movies. He's not like a leading man in anything other than The Witcher and Superman. So I don't know. I don't know why you would why you couldn't negotiate something to continue this show with you being the lead. So again, and this is just another brick to add to the wall in the argument that people were saying that he's just very difficult to work with.
Extremely. I mean, that correlates very well with the guy from Hanada. Is that his name? Yamada from DC.
Yamada. Yeah.
Yeah, because they were having a lot of trouble. He had made a comment a while back that he was having problems with the whole Henry Cavill staying as Superman and all that other stuff too, right?
Yep.
So do you think, because back in the day, a lot of people automatically assume that Hamada himself, with the situation that dealt with Ray Fisher, Ezra Miller, and then Henry Cavill, that Hamada was the problem?
Well, it's a combination. I think that Walter Hamada was definitely not helping any situations over there at Warner Brothers, and I think that the one thing that he tried extremely hard to do was to keep not Zack Snyder himself, because there was just a point that was crossed that I don't think they were going to be able to come back from. But at least the Snyderverse characters, he wanted to keep that intact, and then just make more movies with these characters until their contracts ran out. But Henry Cavill Walter Hamada and Henry Cavill just could not get it together, and that kind of left a bad taste in Walter Hamada's mouth. Okay. And so whenever the name Henry Cavill came up, he would just shut it down. So when The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, comes to Walter Hamada like, "Hey, I'm doing this Black Adam movie, whether you like it or not, whether you like it or not, I'm going to bring in Henry Cavill." And then Walter Hamada just had all types of PTSD flashbacks and shit,
problems and shit,
and said, "No, fuck you. I'm not even entertaining this." And then reports came out that because of whatever past issues Walter Hamada and Henry Cavill may or may not have, that basically forced Dwayne Johnson to go over Walter Hamada's head and get Henry Cavill in this movie.
So you think he went like, you think The Rock like literally went to like the fucking execs and all the guys that are like all the fucking money guys behind Warner Brothers and just went right past Hamada for that shit?
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, that's pretty. I didn't even know The Rock had that kind of pull, man. But
he does, and honestly, and it's just one big circle jerk between them all, because like The Rock was doing it, and it's not because, and honestly, it's not because The Rock feels like Henry Cavill's his best friend and he wants him in there. No, there's like some money shit that's going on here. Like, if I can bring back Henry Cavill to the MCU and get the fans behind me, then I could be up for this lead gig over here at the DCEU, which we all know ultimately went to James Gunn.
Yeah.
So it's just one big fuck fest.
Yeah, right now. Right now it's still kind of messy, but it's a good messy. Because we know that DC's finally going to get some like caring hands on it.
Yeah.
But it's just, figuring out who's in charge and who can do what and whatnot. I have to put this up. I have to put this right here on the video. Because it's very, very difficult to find something that Vince Weaver likes.
That's a fact. That is a fact.
Vince saw Black Adam and he says, it was good. Straight, Vince. So Vince,
I'll say, you know what? That is
section, what you think, man?
That is about as animated or just like the best review you're gonna get from Vince. So you know what? I'll take that.
That's it.
I'll take it.
It just stops at good. They should have like a Rotten Tomato score, like a Vince score. Good, bad.
I'm glad that he says that, because you know what? That's a good movie. I don't care what anybody says. That's a good movie.
And I do feel like there's rewatchability, man. Like I want to go back and I want to see some more stuff in it.
Yeah, dude. I think it was a very well put together movie. I think that was the goal, and I ultimately think that if the numbers would have been better, I don't know if James Gunn gets this job. It may have went to The Rock. So,
but you know what? As a matter of fact, since we are talking about Black Adam, I did hear that they were having problems with a China release. Now, I don't know if you heard about this, but it's not really the problem. It's still kind of speculated too. There was a talks that the movie was going to be banned, not because of something that's in the movie, but it's because during an interview, Pierce Brosnan, I can never pronounce his name right.
Brosnan.
Yeah, Brosnan, that guy, was wearing some type of necklace that goes against like the social norm in China, and they were like, no, not having it. We're not having it.
Dude, that's all fucking smoke and mirrors. That's not the reason why they're not playing the movie in China. Like, there's a lot of red tape that it goes into an American movie being played in China specifically. Now, the way that I understand it is that China has a set block of American movies they will allow into their theaters in a year. There's a short list, and not every movie is going to make it. Not every Marvel movie is going to make it. Not every DC movie is going to make it. And this isn't just for the comic book movies. It's for all the movies these are for all the movies. So some movies aren't going to make it. And again, with the bureaucracy and all the red tape, and China really doesn't fuck with us. Let's just call a spade a spade. They don't fuck with us like that. So if it means that they can dominate or keep an American blockbuster movie at a certain level while their movies are elevated and their numbers are pumped into it, then they're going to do it. So all these movies that are coming out, they should just act as if China is not. And honestly, I think I was watching Grace Randolph where she was talking about the impact that China's box office has on America these days when a movie does get released in China, and it's not even really something we're talking about. They're not moving the needle like it was in Endgame, or like those days are over. Like pre-pandemic,
it's a different market now.
That shit is over. So it's like they're not moving the needle like they used to. So all these movies that are coming out that are hoping for, big box office numbers and international numbers, you're not going to get it from China anyway. So you might as well just act as if China isn't a factor.
And you know what? This brings back an interesting topic that I was talking to a friend of mine this past week about. Do you think that's why, or this could be a reason why Marvel went with like changing the origin story of like Namor and the Atlanteans to like a more of a Mexican culture or a South American culture because they want to attract the South American numbers to more theater numbers?
When it comes to, I don't know that to be for sure, but what I can say is from just looking at it, and I'm actually glad we're talking about this. This is a pretty interesting conversation, but I think Marvel has stopped caring about China
I know.
ever since Shang-Chi. Like they only made Shang-Chi. I don't want to say that. That's not true. But I think one of the reasons why they made Shang-Chi is to hold a an audience in China for this IP, for this specific IP. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think they played that movie in China.
No.
So at that point, Marvel's like, all right, well then fuck you guys, because this was supposed to be
This is supposed to be your movie.
it's supposed to be your movie.
And I
your
think it was because of the
it was
the
Simu
demon character or something like that.
And not only that, but they had issues with the director of because at that same time, that was right around the time where Eternals was coming out.
Okay.
I forget the director there, but she wasn't on good terms with China. Like she had said some comments about China. Then Shang-Chi himself, Simu Liu, was saying some things about China. So they were using that as a reason to not have the movie play, and it's really some weird shit going on.
They on that bullshit, man.
Pretty much.
Yeah, they on that bullshit. But yeah, that brought up a really interesting conversation with me this past week because I was like, you know what? Maybe that's the pull, man. Like Marvel and Disney and all of them know that the market in China is kind of dwindling and it's hard to max or it's hard to meet. But the South American market for film is very untapped with the idea on how many Hispanic actors and how many people from that culture we actually bring into film. So if we bring in more people of that culture, what are the opportunities that Mexico, South America, Central America all end up flocking to the theaters to come and see these movies more and bring that market into the Hollywood market? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without the possibility of it being about, you can show skulls in Mexico because that goes, hand in hand with, fucking Dia de los Muertos.
Let me ask you,
what's up?
Let me ask you a question, and I'm sorry to cut you off. What do you think this is like? That there's going to be a huge Latino turnout for this movie?
Brian, there's going to be a huge turnout no matter who you are.
I'm talking about specifically because
I think there's a very good push for
they're consciously they're consciously I don't want to say target, but make sure that there's representation for a specific culture. And I'm asking, do you think that culture will come out and support it?
I think so. I guarantee it. I mean, I wouldn't see why not, because this is going to be casually one of the first times in film where a Hispanic character is not a crooked cop, a gardener, a custodian, a drug dealer, a cartel member. And it's literally trying to bring to some type of fruition about the ancestral culture of the Mexican race. I mean, yes, it's kind of a little bit more, they're loose about it with the whole Atlantean part, but nonetheless, they're still bringing in some type of recognition. Like they're still bringing in some type of acknowledgement to that culture. I mean, so what? Like in the aspect of it, let's say,
yo, you're such a fucking hypocrite, dude.
Why?
Because this is exactly the same thing I was literally arguing with you about a year ago.
Yeah,
arguing you about,
and I said it, and I acknowledged it too. I acknowledged that the first time we talked about it, and the first time the trailer came out, and they showed him, and I was like, hey, you know what? Like, I can get behind this a little bit. We're gonna see how it needs to be when it gets closer.
Yeah.
But the thing is it still doesn't make it right that you roll over 50 years of a comic book character's history. Like, again, I'm one of the people that's always going to vouch for that. Like right now, we talk about this all the time. They did the Falcon. They changed the Falcon to Captain America. And then during that time, Marvel went out, changed all its social media to the Falcon as Captain America, telling everybody it was Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not Black Panther, Black Panther, telling that the Falcon was now Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, the Marvel company releases the 75th anniversary of Steve Rogers as the real Captain America. Like during the exact same, you can go back in history and check that out. You can go back to the dates. They were trying to sell Falcon as Captain America while they were still telling people that Steve Rogers is celebrated as Captain America as the 75th anniversary. Now I get it. It's one of those things like right now in the history of it, it's fine. But a lot of people try not to remember that the reason why that I care is because the Falcon is a legacy character. He was created as a black original character.
All right, enough. Because you know what? The thing of it is this is a totally different situation here. All right, I get it if you don't like things being changed. I get it.
That's fine. Yeah.
We have the conversation all the time. Like I definitely fucking understand that. But in this situation, in this case, which what I was trying to say from the beginning, is that this is different. Like if they're going to change something, at least they're doing it for the betterment of an entire community. Like now, yes, it sucks that they're changing the origin or they're changing a few things about this character that no one really gives a fuck about anyway, which is another thing we were fighting about.
It's very, it's very niche. Yeah,
but not only that, but like at least they're giving a whole
acknowledgement
group of people their own shit now. Now you guys have someone to represent a whole community in the MCU. That was the bigger picture, and I'm glad that and you know what, and I'm making fun, I'm just joshing, but I'm actually glad that because this is what I was trying to say from the beginning. Like sometimes it's bigger than that. I understand you love your comics and you want your comic book accuracy, but sometimes there's a bigger picture at stake here.
Yeah, I understand that. I can totally agree with that nature. For me right now, I'll tell you what my vibe is. I want to see how they're going to implement the culture that they're trying to implement into the Marvel universe through the Atlantean history on what we know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like my forte. Like it's not the fact that they chose it to be Mexicans. I could give a shit about that. That's cool. That's cool that another Hispanic dude's going to be in the Marvel universe and he's not a custodian. He's not the weird Ant-Man friend that talks really fast that everybody wants to see a movie about, not because he's a serious character, but because he's silly as fuck. Mm-hmm. Like I'm good with that. It's now that they're taking the Mesoamerican history and they're saying that it's in the ocean, not in lakes like the way it is in our actual history. It's the fact that how are they going to make it to where when the Aztecs or the Mayans left their culture, it was because of the Spaniards or like the people from the colonialism characters that were coming in and taking the land and forcing them out into different regions and forcing them out of their culture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to see how they're going to implement those types of history because apparently from what I've heard is in this film, they're going to show like when Spaniards entered the Mayan community and pushed them into like the lakes and the water and all this. Apparently going to push them out to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Great. If they can pull it off, cool. Because there is actual Mesoamerican history that derives around that culture. And I don't want it to be where people automatically assume they're like, yeah, dude, like if it's not a good story and they don't give it like proper respect, like I wouldn't want that to be the thing that people go back on and say, hey, yeah, that's how we became Atlanteans. That's how they made it make sense. You know what I mean? Like it's different. And you understand this because of the whole Black Panther, the whole reign of it and all the culture where representation done by people is very important in the fact that it needs to be done correctly. Because it's one of those things to be put on that pedestal that you're the person that's going to be representing, but then it's representing correctly. So yes, we're going to get this character. And now we talked about this last week, which is very interesting, that I told you, I wonder if they're going to change the pronunciation, that people aren't going to call it Namor anymore. They're going to call it Namor. And apparently like that's an interesting push. And they're actually pushing on that idea. But then in the story, I wonder if the characters that live in Wakanda are going to call him Namor or are they going to call him Namor still?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I did hear that there is. I think we even talked about it. That he does pronounce it. We talked about it last week. That there is,
but they changed the name on the origin. I know that was a big talking point this week in the whole nerd community too, where the name of Namor, since the culture derived of like in the Greek, Roman, and that whole like area of life, the geolocation, Namor was just Roman spelled backwards. And then Imperius Rex, of course, is like a Roman thing that he says. There's a lot of like culture from that area that's derived into the Namor character.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently they're changing it into something different where the Namor name came from like them saying something in Spanish like necesita de amor or something like that. Like there's going to be some Spanish quote, which I mean, if it works, man. I really hope it does because that's like, you know, Namor is a very, it's like we talked about Doom. You and I were talking about Doom off of it. Like Namor is a very household name in the comic book world. Like people who are collectors, like they know Namor the Submariner. And even the idea of the concept of Submariner came from a character in the Roman Empire, like some person, I forgot what it is, but everything derives in that culture because of where we kind of had this generic idea on where Atlantis would have been located.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for my opinion, Ryan Coogler and the directs at Marvel, like they have for them to come in and talk about that they want movies and they want to be able to have Ryan Coogler come in and make movies based on representation of the culture, the African-American culture, the Wakandan culture, the Black American culture, and then say that they want to try to appeal to the same aspect of it being the Hispanic culture and them have that opportunity to put it out. That's a lot of weight to put on them to
Yeah,
kind
but
of
you know
like
what?
represent characters like
But
that.
but I have, and this is another point that I used to say is that now that we have these examples, we have the great work that they've done on Black Panther. We have the great work that they did on Shang-Chi. These are two movies that are, in my opinion, some of Marvel's best work. You know, and they do it well. They give representation well. So when I heard that they were gonna, you know, have their version of the Atlanteans be from a Mexican descent, I'm like, they're gonna knock this out the park.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna knock this out the park, and I have full confidence in them doing so. And I'm just gonna have the what's the word I'm looking for? I guess the history of how they do these movies on my side. Like I'm comfortable with them doing this.
I mean, of course, like it's one of those things like I've said this a million times. I mean, minus the fact that the pacing of Phase 4 is a little weird, Marvel has really done no wrong. Like, you know, even with the weakness that Phase 4 has, the movies are still good.
Yeah.
Like you can still watch them and you can complain all day, but you could still watch them.
Yeah.
And then knowing that they're going back to the core root of making a movie based on like the serious drive to want to make something cinematically beautiful. Like
that's another thing that I
want to put it in.
Yeah, that's the thing that I keep hearing about this movie is that it feels like the old school Marvel, the reason why we all fell in love with the Marvel movies, like that, it has that feel. This movie has that feel to it. And that has me excited.
I'm really excited too, man. Like it's and it's like I said, it's not really a sense of me hating it for what it's trying. I guess it's more in the sense like I'm worried for them missing the mark. That's kind of like what it is more. And it's more based on the idea of them trying to sell us an idea on what kind of subconsciously we already all had. Kind of like, you know, they're trying to change it's not even the idea of Namor. It's them changing the culture, the Atlantean culture. Like, how do you get that to be Hispanic? Because it's something I would have never seen. But if they can pull it off, creative fucking gold star next to their name for that shit.
I think that's where for me it's a little bit different. Now luckily Black Panther is amazing. It's a great movie. But I think even if it was just like mids, I still have to champion it. Like I have to. Like I don't have a choice. Like it's like that's something that is representation. That's the representation of my culture of people that look like me. So I'm gonna champion it no matter what. And I would suggest, you know, other people do that as well, because like that's going to be, now I get it if you I don't know if I should say that, because if you don't like it, you shouldn't just like it just because of that. But for me personally, I was gonna champion Black Panther no matter what. That's just how I feel.
I think it's very important for us to lay across the line that it's okay to not like movies.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing right now, especially in society the way it is. it's okay if you don't like a film. I think it's okay when you could say like, it wasn't for me, and then you come in and you bring it because everybody deserves their opportunity to have their opinion.
Mhm.
That we can wholeheartedly agree on. But I think there are a group of people, and it's not probably a big group, but there's enough. It's enough to make an impact. That there's groups of people out there that are just assholes, and they're just assholes for what they do. They want to hate it just to hate it. I don't know. Well, Black Adam screwed now. It has no China release. I mean,
It was
we were just
screwed
talking
anyway.
about actually. Welcome to the show, Jonathan. We were just talking about that too. We believe that there's outside sources that the Black Adam will eventually get it because the rewatchability of Black Adam is a lot better. So you can actually have a lot more people that want to go out there and actually watch the movie a second time, a third time, and they're possibly to make that funds back. And it's a more positive step in the way DC was handling itself in the first place. So even if they don't have the China release and they don't get that China money, like we understand, it's not the first movie that's been dealt that hand coming out of Disney or coming out of Marvel, coming out of any of the bigger franchises. He says Warner Brothers were right to make James Gunn the head of DC Studios, and they are justified. Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about that too. Black Adam won't get Chinese release due to Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, we were just talking about that too right now. Yeah, you see, he saw it too.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll. I think Black Adam will be okay, but
no, it's not. It's not okay.
Compared to the way DC was prior.
If you're going to talk about did I like the movie, yeah, but that's not what Warner Brothers is gonna give. They're not gonna give a fuck about that. They're gonna give a fuck on whether or not they're making money, and they're not making money on this movie.
That's a good question, though.
It did underwhelmingly. It did underwhelmingly at the box office. So
what's it at right now? I'm gonna check right now. Black Adam.
And now the fact that there's no China release, that's not good at all. Like that movie needs a China release.
118 million. Oh no, what?
Why can't be?
Is that what it is? 51 minutes ago, the film has grossed $258.1 million worldwide.
Okay.
What did it spend on the movie itself? It needs to break
like
400, right?
Something like that.
I think it needs to break like 400 million to make even.
Yeah. No, this did not pan out well. I'm telling you, this is the reason why The Rock is not the head of the DCEU. It was going to be based off of Black Adam and how this did, and it did not hit the mark. So they immediately gave it to James Gunn.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I just saw that right now. It says instead, Black Adam will likely be the fifth DC shared film in a row to gross 500 million or less. So the underwhelming mark is they need to make above 500 to kind of break even.
So now this news is coming out that there's no China release.
Yeah, that's going to be. It's going to be a big hit, of course.
Which I'm sure that we're hearing it. This isn't like just because we're hearing it today. I'm sure that Warner Brothers knew this.
Oh, they knew about this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, even
when they gave the job to James Gunn. They were like, "Oh, we're not even gonna get we're not making this money back. Give it to James Gunn. Get Rock out of here, bro. He can't sell a brick over here, bro."
Well, Jonathan says also that the pandemic really isn't an excuse anymore, but we don't know how that is in the Chinese market right now.
I honestly think that it's still a thing.
Yeah, like it's kind of hard to say. Like we're not a part of that culture or in that area to really say like what the cities and states how they still handle the pandemic and how they handle people going out and stuff like that. So we can't really jump the gun on that, but we do understand that the Chinese market does make a really, really big hit. And of course, DC in the last couple of years really hasn't been making the marks. So it's been a big cut. And that's what was going on with the whole David Zaslav cutting out people and dropping a bunch of people off in the last couple of years and trying to save money, cut corners, kill shows, try to get that tax write-offs, man.
See, like Jonathan understands, like if you just read between the lines, Dwayne Johnson is always tweeting or talking about something, always congratulating somebody. He has not commented on James Gunn being named as the head of the DCU. He hasn't commented at all, which is weird, which lets me know that something's not right over there. Something happened.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I haven't really heard much about it from other actors in that case too.
I've seen a lot of people
Yeah.
congratulate him. Yeah.
I gotta ask Jonathan. Jonathan's a smart cookie, man. He's going out there posting a lot of comments and it's smart stuff. How do you feel about them trying to bring in like with we're talking about the Black Panther, bringing in a character like Namor, bringing in the South American culture. How do you feel like the South American culture and the Mexican market will come in into the Hollywood in driving numbers in Hollywood? Do you feel like it's going to be a big thing or a small thing? Do you think that it could help where the Chinese market has been kind of like low numbers because they've been banning a lot of films going into China? Do you feel like the South American numbers can kind of help save that? I gotta ask that because that guy seems like he knows his stuff. Same thing with Georgie in the comments when he puts up. Oh, okay. He thinks Namor is just gonna hurt the MCU more. All the characters are damaging the MCU. Why do you feel that though? I kind of feel like I do understand what you mean. I'm kind of like a stickler when it comes to like the historical parts of the comic. I have been a person that kind of isn't really about the whole like gender changing and culture changing in characters. But we're kind of past this market and we're kind of past this mark in comic book film history where like it doesn't matter if we don't like it or not, it's still going to happen and we have to understand that. So how do we kind of move forward in a positive way to understand that we can still kind of get into these movies or not in that expectation? Because that's my biggest concern, right? Like I've said it before, like we can complain all day about films, but what does that really matter when the companies are going to do it either way? Does that make sense? Like, so what do? Do we just continue to complain for the next 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12 years?
You don't. I mean, you don't have to watch them.
Yeah, or do we just sit there, watch the films, and just take it for what it is, and then say, okay, cool. Like, if they do this, can they at least pull it off? Because that's not being creative, but can they make it work?
You take that chance every time you walk into a movie theater anyway. You don't know
exactly.
So you don't know whether or not you're gonna like this movie anyway. So when it comes to like specifics and particulars, I don't know if I hold so much weight as you would. But then again, you would look at it differently because you are a stickler for comic book accuracy. Me, on the other hand, I could love a run, and if they decided to change something, it's just not going to affect me the same way it's going to affect you, whether I know the story or not. I just know that if it's done right, I'm not gonna give a fuck. So I just always have that as, I don't want to call it like an advantage, but it's almost like something that I just don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about that, and I'm glad.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the one thing that my mind has kind of been pushing more with these newer generation of films is if it has rewatchability. I think that's a really, really good point for myself, because if it has rewatchability, I kind of feel like it's entertaining enough for me to want to go back and give that extra amount of time, like that extra couple of hours of my life to see it again, to enjoy that. Like we were talking about the fucking movie. What was it? Avatar. You saw the trailer. I just saw the trailer a little while ago. Last week, I think you were like, hey man, I was at a film and I saw the trailer and it caught me a little different. I don't know if it was just the emotions in the air or whatnot, but I don't know what it was. But then you saw one this week. You saw the trailer that just came out and you were like, nah, fuck that movie. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you were just like, you were done with it. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And I really think
I was in a situation where I was kind of forcing myself into thinking I was going to watch it, but I'm not.
There was something about it. You there was a part where you were like, I don't know what it is, man. Like, it's kind of like I drank too much at the club and she seemed pretty for that moment.
Yeah.
And then the lights turned on and you were like, God damn.
What the fuck was I thinking?
Yep. It's very weird because I kind of get the same vibes. And the vibes that I get is almost like those, like, what are they called? Like the love tunnels that they have at like the parks, or those kind of like things that you.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, you sit down and you go through it and you're like, oh, that was cool. And it's like, do you want to do it again? No, because I already saw it. What the fuck am I going to do it a second time for? Like, it's almost like when I was watching the trailer a little while ago with you, it's almost like I had already been on that ride.
It's because you have.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the exact same film from the first one.
Listen, I'm just going to say it. Everybody, and I don't care if you guys hate me in the comments or in the chat. Yo, Avatar is boring, dude. The first movie, it was long as fuck and it was fucking boring. It had just enough action for it to kind of have my interest, but that movie sucks, bro. I'm sorry.
There
It
was
needs to
something
be
about it,
said.
man.
You
I
got
think
everyone is overhyping that movie. It's not that good,
it's
bro.
very interesting because I remember the first time I saw the movie and I thought it was good. And then the second time I saw it, I figured out where the parts that were bad. And then like the third part, there was only like certain parts I wanted to see.
Yeah.
And for me, that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling for a movie. Like you're not watching it for the entire movie. You're only watching it for little snippets, like highlights in a fight. You're not gonna rewatch the whole goddamn fight. It's just boring. Um, After watching the trailer right now, I was real like, oh fuck, it's them fighting for fucking, I don't know, justice and people controlling the water now. And
Like I get it. I get it. 12 years ago, it was groundbreaking. The CGI was phenomenal. And it was something that we haven't seen before. And it was James Cameron. And it just had everything, moving in, the right direction. And now I'm just like, I don't care, bro. I don't care. I listen, I still respect James Cameron. He gave us Titanic, dude, and he will always be held in a high regard as far as I'm concerned. But I will not be purchasing a ticket for this movie. I have to apologize.
Yeah, I agree. I don't even think I really care enough to go watch it now because I really don't feel, unless like something comes out in a trailer coming up that there's going to be like a different story. And I just don't know. See, I can't even fucking say that. Because I mean, even with the story, let me ask you, even with the story as it is right now, what would they need to do to make the story a little better?
Push it back 10 years.
No, I'm not time. Like, I get that. That's fucking funny though. And I think that the reason why they waited this long is because the child is that age, is that they're the age they would be if they were living on that planet right now.
I mean, just scrap.
Great on you, James Cameron. That's fun as fuck, I guess, but that's not the way it works in film, dude. I didn't want to wait the exact amount of time the kid needed to age to make me feel like he's the age I wanted him. I don't give a fuck about that. So I hope that's not what he's going for. See, that's right. Jonathan says he can't wait for Avatar 2. I have to know why. What is it about Avatar 2? Anybody in the comment section, anybody. So be Jonathan, George, Rob, Vince, anybody. What do you feel is the thing that you were excited for Avatar 2? James Cameron never fails at the box office. Well, but he's 10 years, man. It's called ring rust, man. It's 10 years out of fucking making films.
And who the fuck was asking for Avatar 2? Like, no one was asking for this shit. We're in the age where people just give you shit that you don't ask. Like, no one was clamoring. No one was asking for an Avatar 2, bro. Nobody.
He says, I can rely on Avatar 2 not being heavily handled with social politics and will rely on being a good movie. I don't know, man, because the first movie was literally Ferngully.
It's deeply rooted in social politics.
Yeah, the first movie was deeply rooted in Ferngully. It was literally about a tribal culture being pushed out by industrial machines because they wanted to take
I think that's the reason why the movie was boring to me, is because it was about politics. It was like you just said, it was about politics.
Yeah, if you go back and you watch it, like there is a lot of, I mean, yeah, there's not like blatant distinct politics. Like it's not like I heard today, which was Hercules, the live action, is going to be very inspired by TikTok. Like that shit is like, I don't want to hear that when it comes to making a movie. I don't want to hear that it's going to be inspired by TikTok. I just want a fucking movie.
And that came from the Russo brothers, bro.
Yeah, that came from fuck, dude. And the Russo brothers have more pull right now than James Cameron. Like, but yeah, man, it's just one of those things. Like, I was okay with the first Avatar movie, but yes, there was a political push on that movie. And when you're watching the trailer, it kind of does feel like it's in the same genre as the first film, which is like I'm saying, and I'm trying to say this like thinking outside the box, thinking like a person that wants to create a story. Where do you go with the idea of having an alien tribal culture going to the next evolutionary step on how to maintain a story, and then bring in a futurism or an imperialistic nature of a culture that wants to come in and take over their energy source or whatever. Like, what do you do? Like, where do you go from there? The first Avatar movie was they wanted to they had one part that what is it, Sigourney Weaver's culture wanted to understand the culture and harmonize with them. Then you had the other guy that was the dude that wanted to make money, who wanted to steal the tree or some type of material that was part of that thing for money making thing. He really wasn't an asshole, but he was an asshole to make money.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't care what it took, but he really cared about the people. Like, I get that. But now what? Like, where do you go from there? Like, the fucking, like, I would understand where it's like, okay, cool. Like, you know what they should do? Fuck it. The people who live on Earth or whatever culture they come from, they want to literally come and invade the entire fucking Avatar planet. Like, because of the fact that a whole entire race of the tribal alien culture, like, literally tried to kill all the fucking Marine Corps or whatever it is. And that's what part 2 is about. Would you watch that movie? If it was like literally like, hey, dude, it's an invasion now. Like, we're going to make it an all-out war movie against this one. I would be like, oh, okay, dude. Yeah.
If it was something that was heavily promoted as being like, all right, so we do know that James Cameron has signed on for at least 3 movies, right?
Yes.
If they gave us the introduction if they gave us the introduction in the first movie, and you take your time with it, and that's the reason why it was slow and it was a little bit too much for me. But then this one, you focus on like the fighting, the war aspect of it, and then the third movie, you give me the resolution. I'm fine with that, but I don't think that's what we're gonna get in this movie.
Yeah, it looks
we're gonna get way more of the first movie in this movie, and then I'm probably looking forward to that in the third movie as well. I'm just not for it, bro. But they're possibly talking about giving him a 4th as well, depending on how.
But you can see where I'm talking about, where they do it like
look,
because literally, what would be what would the country do if you went to a fucking planet and you went there just as a people that were trying to take energy or take whatever fucking fossil fuel or whatever they had, and the people uproared against you and killed a bunch of your fucking soldiers? What would you do? You'd fucking go in and try to show them who's boss, right? That would be the idea. And that's the idea of the storytelling aspect, in my opinion. So this movie be the retaliation from the Earth coming to this planet and starting the entire planet up, to where then the entire planet then has to bring out like the giant sea creature from Aquaman. Big ass fucking animals, and then the United States or fucking they bring out huge fucking Gundam mechs, and they're coming around stomping. Like, dude, I'd be like, bro, the first fucking part of the 10-minute episode was like there's Sully shooting a bow and arrow, and then all of a sudden a giant fucking mech just lands on the planet and starts to unroots the goddamn tree and throw it. I'd be like, dude, I'm about this movie. I'm so about this movie. I would have been like, fucking 10 years. This is what I've been waiting for. Like, that would be cool. But then it gives you like all of this weird, like, let's go fucking swimming. Let's look at some fucking jellyfish. Here's a fucking dolphin we can run. Like, it's like, dude, I already saw a bunch of those posters when I was in junior high, dude. Like, those are all the posters that girls had. Avatar 2 right now, just for myself, I think it's a little slow. It hasn't really caught my eye. Jonathan, maybe we're onto something. Maybe we get something that's quite interesting. Maybe the war is going to be in the next film, in the third film or something. But if it kind of correlates with the idea of the first film, I think it's going to be very boring. That's a good point. Do you think Black Panther gets a release in China? I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah,
but I don't think it's going to matter much, anyways.
Yeah, again, the Chinese dollar, when it comes to movies, it doesn't hold as much weight as it once did. People in China are not affecting people's the international box office to the point where it did at one point, to where it was like a juggernaut where we have to have China. Movies are doing just fine without China, so.
Yeah, Jonathan says he thinks Black Panther 2 will make close to 700 million to $1 billion.
That's a fair assessment.
You know what? Like, if it does make $1 billion, that's good. If it doesn't have a release in China, I think that's a good number nowadays. if it doesn't have a release in China.
That's a great. That's a
That's a fantastic fucking number.
No movies are making $1 billion these days. Like if you think about it, before the pandemic, it was almost like every other month there was a movie that was making $1 billion. Now it's very few and far in between.
I just think the culture is very rushed. They're very hard to work with. I think nowadays numbers, I think $1 billion is like a really, really successful movie. Mm-hmm. So right now, if any, Top Gun 2, I think Top Gun 2 did very well in that market.
You can all right. You can name me 3 movies that made $1 billion. Now, opposed to pre-pandemic, you were having 3 at least every 5 or 6 months. There would be like a blockbuster movie that would come out that would be teetering or on track to make $1 billion. It feels like.
We do have to understand that the culture has changed. The money culture of making films and making money is kind of.
Top Gun was not supposed to make $1 billion, by the way. Like that was like out of nowhere. They did not expect to make $1 billion from Top Gun. I guarantee you that. That was a surprise to not only us but to them as well.
Yeah, I like that this guy, Jonathan. Jonathan, thank you very much for jumping in the comment section, man. Thank you for keeping the conversation going. That's really, really cool. He says, like, I'm sorry, Doctor Strange 2 should have made $1 billion, but man, it was awful. Yeah, I'll agree with you.
There's no replay. There's no rewatch. Yeah,
there's no replay, and that's what we're talking about, man. The replayability of a film is very, very important. And you know what's very important? Like, let me ask you something, Jonathan. You let me know what you think. Out of Doctor Strange 2, out of Thor 4, and Black Adam, which one do you think has the most rewatchability? And I know you might say, like, none of them, they all suck. I never rewatch them. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking you which one would have the possibility of having a lot more better rewatchability. And that matters, man. That really does matter. The rewatchability of a film does matter.
That's the only way. That's the only way you're going to be able to get to $1 billion these days is if you have a movie that people are going to the movies multiple times to see. If you don't have that, you're not making $1 billion.
There's no way. There's no way. There's not enough people, man. There's not enough people going out and doing that anymore. Alrighty, onwards to our last major topic, but of course this will keep us going for a minute too. We do have information and a legitimate casting for Marvel's WonderMan cast, which WonderMan is this really interesting character from the Marvel comic book realm who dwells very much with, of course, like the Avengers, West Coast Avengers. He also works very well, very, very closely with Wanda and Vision also. So what have we heard about this, man? It just came out recently. We have an interesting person that got casted as WonderMan. Who did you hear? What's the name of the guy?
So you may know the guy from what is it, from Us? Like a cameo in Us. He was Mantis and Aquaman. I don't know why I lost his name. He's been in a few other things. But his name is Yahya Abdul Mateen II. He is in line to play WonderMan in the upcoming Disney Plus series. My question to you is, number one, are you excited for a WonderMan series? And number two, what would you want the relationship between Wanda and WonderMan to be in the MCU?
Well, first, even before, I think the placement of WonderMan right now is not as important anymore. The reason why is because the character did play an important role in the factor in the comic books when it came to the creation of Vision and the story of Wanda, themselves. Like WonderMan was a relationship that was a character that Wanda had a relationship with. And then later they got his personality with a couple of other characters. And then they created Vision with the majority of his with his complex. And that's why Wanda ended up dating him, because he was the closest resemblance to WonderMan, or someone that was in that same nature. Mm-hmm. So that's what kind of correlates with the idea of her dating a witch or her dating an android in the first place, was because he had the consciousness of a dude she banged once. Right. So now you have this story of this character that's coming out now that I guess Marvel will have to find some way to correlate it to the two characters originally. But I think it's a lot harder. And I think it's very, think it's an outdated movement. But I think that the reason why they're choosing a guy like how do you say his name?
Yeah,
Yahwa Abdul Mateen.
yeah.
I think they're choosing him now because they're going to have a larger role for him later on in the whole cusp of the reality of the Marvel universe. That's why they're choosing someone. This dude's like a 2-time Oscar winner. You know, he's a fucking heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And not even to fucking this guy flexing, you know, how good he is, you know, doing Broadway and all this other stuff. You know, he made comments about this shit and said like, "Oh, dude, comic book movies are fucking stupid. Like, they're like throwaway characters. I don't even give a shit about them."
Everybody says that until they come knocking with that.
Until they get cash, right? Until they get the fucking call with the money, and then
that's why I never listen to these actors or directors when they start talking their shit, because everybody can be bought, especially in fucking Hollywood. You can sit there and talk all your shit. All the Marvel movies or comic book movies aren't real movies. Let them come knocking on your door with that fucking Marvel check, and I bet you'll be in a fucking suit faster than you can fucking blink, bro.
I think. So Jonathan says he doesn't really like that casting. He's not really for the whole like gender swapping or culture swapping or race swapping. Hey, it's understandable. It's been an argument for a while.
No, that's cool.
I respect it. It's cool. If you don't like it, that's fine. I say give it time. Let them play out. If they write it and the character is then stupid, then I think it's better to call it out that way.
That's the beauty of this, of these type of conversations. You can not feel a certain way, but you know what? We're gonna, again, the same thing when it comes to the reviews on Black Panther. You cannot like the movie, and it's fine. You cannot like the race bending or gender swapping. That's fine. But at some point, the movie's gonna play, and we're all gonna sit there and watch the shit, and then we can all form our own opinions based off of that, as opposed to making our opinions off of just rumors or just things that we know that's coming. We're gonna see. We'll see.
But yeah, and then Jonathan said, you know what? This is a very important conversation too. Jonathan makes a really good point. Yeah, but I'm not allowed to say that or have my opinion without getting attacked.
Why?
And you know what? I agree with you, man. It sucks that happens. And we're not going to attack you for it. Like, I'm a minority. I'm a Hispanic dude. Brian, I don't know if you could tell, he's casually darker than normal, but he's Mexican like me, I guess. He's gonna be a really dark Mexican. No, Brian's Brian. What's your last name's Davis? So Brian's he's not Mexican. He's a black guy. And that's the cool thing about our show is that we dynamically have our own different opinions because we come from two different places in the United States. But the thing is like, just like you, man, like your opinion matters just the same, but there's a lot of people and it's a small niche group of people that just hate. They just hate. And that sucks because sometimes those people get more attention or they get more popularity because they speak their mind in a way that other people, you know, they clamor at that. I'm not about that shit. What I am about is I'm about people making sense. I'm about people at least having some type of you know, some moral push or something that's just right behind that. So like with this guy, right? This actor guy, what's his name? I fucking forgot his name already.
Yahya Abdul Mateen.
I'll call him Abdul. I love that name. That name sounds cool. It's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Abdul got the opportunity to play this character. Is WonderMan black in the comics? No. New Age, I guess. It all determines how they pull off the show. Because let me ask you something, dude. Jonathan, what happens if this guy, Abdul, comes out and just fucking knocks it out of the park?
Which he will.
Fucking knocks it out of the park. Plays the fucking coolest version of a WonderMan character we've ever had, even in the comics and whatnot. Just plays him to like a really cool T. And I was like, whoa, okay, that was refreshing. Or the show is just great.
His version of Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen was fucking cool.
Yeah, it was fucking cool. Yeah. It was a cool acceptance of a different version of the character, and I thought it was great. But again, it just dealt with the idea. Yeah, he did great as Black Manta. Yes, people did care. People did care. He's like, no one cared. People cared. But yeah, it's one of those things that everybody deserves their opportunity. But the moment they make that show, and if it sucks, call it out for the right reasons. Call it out for the right reasons, because I guarantee Abdul, the guy, is a great fucking actor. If he's on
Yeah,
Broadway, if he's making
your
Oscars,
issue issue is not going to be his acting. I can promise you
yeah,
that.
that's not his fault.
That's not going to be the issue here, and we all know that. So at that point, it's just going to be your preference, whether you want to see him as Wonder Man or whether you don't, and then that's for you to decide. I don't care.
And we do understand that there is a push for that type of movement in Hollywood when it comes to certain stories or characters or whatnot. Hey man, that's on them because they're the people that get to say what is it. That's like, you know what was really funny to me a while back was there was a whole bunch of people complaining about Scarlett Johansson being the Colonel in Ghost in the Shell. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
You're like, fuck, I don't know. That movie sucked. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I
like that movie because it was a great anime to film version of Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
But there was a huge turnabout that a lot of people were like, well, you know what? It's fucked up because it wasn't proper Asian culture representation. And I was like, but who do you tell that to when the creator of the anime is like, fuck yeah, I got Scarlett Johansson. Mm-hmm. Like, who do you fucking complain to when the maker of that character that you deem to love and respect and care about so well, when the person who created that character is excited to have that person play the role because he has an image for what he's going for? Like, how do you think your opinion value, like the value changes in that situation? Like, who do you root for then?
I don't know why people give a fuck, to be honest with you. I don't know why people give. Again, you're asking me this question, but you got to understand the person that you're asking has the perspective that I just don't think it's that big of a deal. I will never find it that big of a deal, because these are fucking.
They're just fictional characters.
They're made up characters, bro. Yeah. So just because you're attached to them being white, or them being male, or them being straight, and they decide to flip the script on your ass, and you're gonna have to. That's the world that we're living in. Yeah. Like, I get it. You know, some things should be sacred. You know, the comic books should not be touched. But they're doing it anyway, dude. So what are you gonna do? You're not gonna watch it. You're not gonna be a fan of it.
Yeah, like what do you do?
You're gonna boycott it because someone was changed from a male to a woman. Like, that just sounds that sounds stupid. I don't want to say stupid because you are in fact entitled to your own opinion, your own feelings. But I just don't. I will never see the biggest deal of it, especially if they nail it. If they don't nail it, then yeah, I'll be on the same team with you, and we can talk shit about that all day.
Oh yeah.
But if they nail it and you just got your panties in a bunch because, you know, the same thing with E-Man, right? Kind of the same thing with E-Man, that does the reviews, and he was the driving force for the recast T'Challa.
Yeah,
like you can tell that in his reviews or his reactions that he's disappointed that he liked that movie because he had went so hard for his one belief in the one way that he viewed something, that when he watched it and he thought, oh shit, like this was actually pretty dope. Now he looks like an asshole coming back and having to say
that pretty good.
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just one of those situations. I don't understand why you would even put yourself in that situation.
Like why invest so much energy?
You're putting yourself in a box, and then if they knock it out the park, now you're stuck there having to be like, oh, well, I you know, they did really well on it. You know what I'm saying? Just keep an open mind, give it a try. If you don't like it, fuck it, move on to the next one. Don't watch it.
Yeah, I get you. Jonathan puts, it's just interesting. I like hearing from people that have different opinions from the way that we look at things, right? Jonathan puts, if they didn't complain about every white actor playing a race swapped role, then I would have less of an issue. But they're hypocrites. They are happy when white characters are race swapped, but the other way they complain bloody murder. It's just the culture we're in, my dude. Like I know what part of the argument you're talking about.
I need you to explain that to me.
He's talking about where like they'll change a character ethnically to like a black character, but you can't change a black character to a white character.
They've been
And like
doing it.
it doesn't flip the same way. He's talking about just that format. Like it just doesn't flip the same way.
It does because that was debunked when the Ariel was casted as the black chick, and then everyone was all up in arms about that. And then like the whole week on social media, I have been seeing multiple posts about when white actors were casted in Native American roles or Chinese roles or black roles from historically black people. Elizabeth Taylor being fucking you know what I'm saying? Like it's happened more as white characters than it has any other. So like that comment doesn't make sense to me because it happens in all races. It's not just when you change a white character to black that there's an uproar. There have been white people casted in roles. Fucking Tom Cruise was in the fucking Last Mohican.
Yeah, he was.
Riddle me that.
I mean, it's one of those things.
Tom
too,
Cruise
like
was the last. He was the last samurai.
Yeah.
Riddle me that.
Well, the thing is like I want to ask Jonathan. Like, I understand it. I mean, we get the idea on what you're talking about, and right now, I'm a big person when it comes to. I feel like the idea is that they need to make new characters. If they want to bring characters in, they should make brand new characters. Right now is
Madonna.
the perfect opportunity.
Who did Madonna play? Madonna played fucking Frida. What was her name?
Frida. Yeah, she played Frida. Yeah.
No one batted an eye about that. No one batted an eye when she did that.
Jonathan, I have to ask though, like, were you against the idea? And I mean, I don't know how old or how young you are, but were you against the idea back in the day when white characters would play characters of ethnicities? Like when they would play minorities, when they would cast white people to play minorities, were you okay with that? Or did you champion the idea that it should have been played by a person of ethnicity?
I'm just saying
you can't just be for one.
Exactly.
That's not nice, man.
It happens on both sides.
It has to be. You have to be a dualityist. You have to be a person that believes in both sides. Yeah, it might have been that you were too young. Yeah, look at fucking Sean Connery played the Spaniard in fucking the what is it, Highlander.
That's what I'm saying. It happens all over the place.
Well, I mean, Jonathan, the Nick Fury thing is a very it's not really the same thing because the Ultimates universe was literally drawn to look like Samuel Jackson. They didn't race swap him. They just kept the other continuity. So that's not the same. But did you, now that you are of age, which I'm guessing, I mean, you sound like a pretty intelligent cat. You do have a good opinion on yourself and you do carry yourself well. Do you feel like it was wrong for them to do that to characters back in the day?
I just think that it's been happening for a very long time on every side. Yes. And it just is what it is. You cannot be mad at Madonna, but you be mad at this young black chick that just wants to play Ariel. You can't that's insane to me. Insane.
I just think for like right now in the culture, back in the day in comic history, having diverse characters was very niche. They had a good amount, a handful of like black characters. They had a very smaller handful of Mexican characters or Spanish characters, and then an even smaller of Asian or of any Asian descent characters. Right? Nowadays, I feel like Marvel as a company is like, you know what? I think we fucked up way back in the day. We got to cover our ass. Let's switch these characters to people that we think they could work. I get it. They're trying to rewrite their wrongs from the past. Same thing with Disney with all the stuff that they did back in the day that was, borderline racist or whatever. When would be the right time then for them to do that then, Jonathan? That's all I'm asking. When do you think as a character or as a person,
agree.
When do you think it'd be wrong?
I do agree with Jonathan. I don't think it's mostly because they want to give representation. I think it's mostly they want to get the dollars from a certain demographic that they don't have at that very moment. So there is some type of MO behind it, but still it just happens quite often on a lot of sides, and like it or not, it's happened more on the side of white actors being casted in minority roles than the opposite way around. Like that, like this is relatively new when you're race bending a black actor in a normally white character situation. That's relatively new.
Yeah.
The other way around, that's not new.
Yeah, it happened. It was the whole culture
Yeah,
in
that's not
Hollywood.
new.
It was like that for a very, very long time. Um, yeah, just got to make sure that you kind of stand your ground on both sides. You got to fight for both cultures, man. I respect it. I see what you're talking about. I understand that there was a
I
lot
get
of
it.
investment as a young man too, um, investing into characters. I think you said it earlier, like the Fantastic Four and stuff like that too. I have a huge investment in comic books also, and for them to do a lot of the stuff that they've done to the story, if I'm glad you're a part of the conversation now, because hopefully
Oh
you get
yeah,
to kind of chill out with us
yeah.
more, man. I really appreciate it. Because for man, as long as I've been running the show, I'm one of those dudes that complains about the entire Marvel fucking storyline when they switch a goddamn story up, the fucking Planet Hulk and the Hulk son and all this other She-Hulk, and yeah, man, it's been crazy. He put, why do you think Chris Pratt playing? What do you think of Chris Pratt? I think it's cool. Um, I know that there's a lot of people pushing that they want the original actor to. Oh man, I want a good Storm also too. Don't even start, bro. Like you better. I love that. Good comment, bro. I want a great Storm. Storm's such an awesome character from the X-Men. Um,
Now hold on. Now let me ask you:
shoot.
what if
Oh,
they change Storm to be a white chick
well,
from?
I don't. That can never be a thing because she was a princess in Africa.
Okay, what if they changed it that she didn't come from Africa? Let's change it. She's a princess from, I don't
Well, they
know,
did change
some.
it pretty good in the fucking Apocalypse movie. They didn't even reference that she was like from Africa. They just put her as some like fucking chick that was like in the back alleys of India or some shit. You remember that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was kind of weird, right?
that was weird. But let me ask you a question. This is more
Shoot,
like
shoot.
a social climate type of thing. Now, let's
Yeah,
say they did that. Let's say they just scrapped it and they just took her away from Africa. Let's say that they put her in some European, country,
okay.
and she was the Storm of the universe in that situation.
Fuck.
Do
Here,
you think?
let me
Do
throw
you
it down.
think?
Here, watch. I'll set us up. I'll set us up. Let's say she is white because of the colonialism in Africa, and she lived in the Charlize Theron era,
Yeah.
and she's African, but she's a white lady like Charlize Theron white. How do we feel about this
Do
story?
you think? Do you think? Not even how we feel. I think we will both be upset about that. But do you think it would be the same outcry? Do you think there would be the same backlash that the chick that's playing Ariel? Do you think that would be the same thing?
I don't know because I would be upset as fuck, dude. And it's not. It has nothing to do. I mean, but that's because again, like I understand the value of Storm's character from the comic books, and I understand who she is as a legacy, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Jonathan would kind of his opinion in the situation would probably be a little bit more because he's more on the idea of them just switching the race of the characters. But you're not switching the race because there are people of white descended color
That live
living
in
in Africa and they've been living there for years. So they're technically Africans. So how do you correlate to that? I would freak out, dude.
yeah.
Because just everything about Storm's character is so iconic. To even her skin color is iconic because it correlates so cool with like her white hair. You know what I mean? There's so much distinct beauty to the character. I fucking have a picture of her right here on my wall. I'm not even fucking kidding, dude. Like I can literally switch it. Like she's just iconic. It would be so weird. Jonathan, how would you feel if they changed the character of Storm to a white character, being that there are white Africans that are in the colonial parts of Africa? How do you feel about that? Would you be more accepting of that? Or would you be like, no, that's not right? That's a fucking great question. It's a great question. Um, I don't think that, but you know what? There are talks of them changing Rogue. Did you hear about that?
No.
No, there's this girl. I don't know who she is. Rapper wants to be Rogue. Rogue? Did I spell that wrong? I spelled Rogue wrong. I can't believe that. Yeah, we can. Hold on. Let's see. Baton Rouge rapper. No. Um, black actress. I'm gonna put. Maybe it's not an actress. Hold on, black actress. There you go, Kiki Palmer. Are
Yeah.
you familiar with Kiki Palmer?
Yeah.
She is an actress that has grown up in Louisiana and Baton Rouge area. That she's kind of like championing the idea that she wants to play Rogue.
Okay.
And she's getting a big call out for the idea of her coming in. Now, with that, how do we feel about that? Because this person actually comes from that area. Does it matter then what the skin color is when the person is of that culture? You get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. Does it matter? I mean, they're race bending, dude. So it's like, does anything matter? Does like if you're changing the person's backstory or their lore, if you will, then what does any of it matter at that point?
Well, I
Does that
mean,
make
but she
sense?
does come from the culture. Like she does come from that region. Then who better else to play that than someone from that region? For me, it's one of
Because
those
because
things.
because she's a white character. She is drawn in the comic books as a white character. So you're race bending. If you're race bending, what do you care about anything that has to do with her particularly? You don't have to stay true to that
You don't have to
character
stay
at that point.
consistent to the character.
You don't. Yeah, you can
Yeah,
do whatever the fuck
you
you
can.
want at
It's
that
pretty much
point.
free to go from there.
It's free to go. So yeah, why go the 1 mile of changing the character's ethnicity and not go the whole way and just have free liberty to do whatever the fuck you want with the character?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and the thing is like whenever I hear people that do this kind of stuff, because she's championing the idea that she wants to be Rogue,
And that's
and
fine. I'm
yeah,
all I love Kiki Palmer. I'm
yeah,
all for her being Rogue. Again, as long as I love Rogue, so as long as she does the character justice and she's good at it.
yeah.
I
For me,
personally
it's
don't
one
give
of
a
those
shit.
things. Like every time an actor comes out and says they want to work with Marvel, and they have like a specific thing they're really championing for, it's because they want a job. Like that's what I hear. Like then I even put in my comment section. Like I'll jump in those comments and be like, yo, I want to be Rogue too. Like, sign me up, man. Can you make an article about me? You know, Chris wants a fucking podcaster wants to bet champion to be Rogue, and I mean, you're doing it anyways, man. Why not?
Yeah,
I'll go. I'll be Rogue. If they called you up tomorrow to be Rogue, would you be Rogue?
1000%.
Fucking dude, I'll take $1,000,000, bro. I'll take $1,000,000 and a cool white piece in my hair, dude. Straight up. Yeah, that's just wild as fuck. But we went really weird off subject. Sorry, Jonathan, but thank you for jumping in the comments like that. That was really, really cool. Keeps the conversation going. And you're keeping my brain working, buddy. Thank you very much for me in my old age. But going into the concept of what we were talking about, going way back, to the casting that Disney Plus is going to have a cast for WonderMan. They're bringing in the guy who did Morpheus. I liked him in Morpheus. I really liked the fucking Matrix movie. No one else liked it except for me. I hated it. I hate you guys. You guys should watch the Matrix again. But how do we think this correlates with the WandaVision and the Wanda show and all that stuff? I think someone put it, I think Jonathan actually, where he put that Wanda is actually like completely out of the idea of what they're going to do with her character, since she's kind of like in the wind from what happened at the ending of Doctor Strange 2, being that they kind of showed like her character was killed off or blown up, minus the big red pop and all that stuff. And then we have, of course, the the ending of Vision's character when he leaves at the ending of WandaVision. Now, we did hear also that they're doing a Wanda, no, not a Wanda show, but a Vision show.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing an Agatha Harkness show.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think they're all going to correlate with each other? Because all of these three characters all correlate with each other in the comics: Wonder Man, Vision, Scarlet Witch.
Well, I'm not for sure they're gonna have Wonder Woman and Wanda correlate. I don't know that for a fact. But I do know that, obviously with the Agatha Harkness show and Wanda and Vision, there's the correlation there. And then they also hired Joe Locke, which is a young actor to play a secret role in the in the Agatha Harkness show. So there's rumors that he could be, the Wiccan, the older version of Wanda's kid in the DCU. I'm sorry, in the MCU, and so I think this is all this whole magic part of the MCU is gonna come into like one big fold. Like they're taking the like the magic aspect of it, and they're making like their own mini world, if you will, like their own mini universe in interwoven with what else is going on.
Oh.
It looks pretty cool.
I was just saying. So you said, who's the guy that you said that they just casted?
Joe Locke.
Joe Locke.
Joe Locke. He's a young kid. I don't know. He's a really young kid. I don't know how old he is. He can't be any older than like 17 or 18.
Joe Locke.
But yeah, he comes from
I've seen this guy before.
Yeah, he was on like a Netflix show. I can't remember. Oh, Heartstopper. I never watched it. I don't know what show that is, but apparently it's pretty good. And that's the show that he's from. So
yeah, he was in Heartstoppers. Yeah. Thank you, Jonathan.
So they got him, and then he also got Aubrey Plaza.
Aubrey Plaza.
That's right.
Sweet. So I'm guessing she's gonna be like a coven, like one of the chicks in the coven.
I would think that's safe to say, yeah.
So it's super crazy because the last time that we saw Agatha Harkness, she had just been put back under the spell in Westview. So you think after Wanda in her demise happens at the ending of Doctor Strange 2, that spell is broken and Agatha kind of pops out of it?
What do you mean her demise?
Well, I mean, after the demise in the sense of like, we don't really know what happens to Wanda at the ending of Doctor Strange 2, except for the fact that Wonder Gore Mountain collapses and crushes her. Then we see that big red spark, which, I mean, hint, she's probably still alive somewhere and she's been plucked out of that dangerous zone or whatnot, that we can kind of say that she's probably still out there. I think that's the safest way to put it. But with what Disney wants us to see from that is that, there's a demise. Like she's consistently at the ending of that story, we believe that she's dead. Now with that, if she's dead or alive, what are the possibilities that the show starts, Agatha Harkness's show, where she gets out of that spell and it just starts with the whole entire aspect of like, because we do remember that in WandaVision, there was that whole thing that Wanda will spark, like she's going to release something when she starts using the Darkhold, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it that we assumed? I'm guessing a lot of people were, with the idea that they're going to finally bring in a Mephisto. A lot of people were hoping that it was the Mephisto character. But we are believing that she released something and Agatha was there to kind of hold it back. We do understand in the comic books that Agatha did work with a lot of the different villains in the magic world.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean that she released something? I'm missing something.
You got to remember that Agatha at the ending of WandaVision told Wanda, you don't know what you're doing. You're not, I'm holding something back or whatnot. I remember her saying something at the ending. And it's just the fact that she was kind of like, her magic was there to kind of protect something or hold something back from coming into our world.
No, I think the entire plot of Agatha was to steal Wanda's powers. Like that's what she wanted, because she didn't realize that. She just knew that Wanda was powerful. She didn't know that she was fucking with the Scarlet Witch. She just turned out to be the fucking Scarlet Witch, and she didn't realize till it was too late. So she was just giving her a backstory, like, look, bro, like you're the fucking Scarlet Witch, and you're way more powerful than you know. You're not supposed to have these powers. You're gonna be more powerful than even the Sorcerer Supreme, and that's it. Like it wasn't like she was doing any good here, where she was holding something back. No, she just fucked around and messed around with the wrong witch.
No, that's a good way to put it. She put, you don't know what you've done. You're gonna need me. That was like her last thing before she kind of like hit her back in the spell, put her back into Westview, and kind of left her in that place.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that she meant by that?
I just think she was begging for her life at that point. She was just like,
just kind of throwing it out there.
Yeah, she's like, you're gonna need me because you don't know what these powers are doing. But apparently,
Fucking George, dude. George's comments like it was her ratio of fuck around and find out was equivalent to what she found out
yeah,
in Doctor Strange 2. Like her fucking with the
basically.
Darkhold and shit like that.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. Is that she was basically warning her about the Darkhold,
The Darkhold and what it
and
would do if she kind of connected to it. I
yeah,
guess it was the fact that she knew the prophecy of the Scarlet Witch, right? And it was kind of like the same thing that Wong was talking about, that it would destroy Kamatage and all that other stuff. So I'm guessing it's just one of those things that's what Agatha was trying to prevent, that if she took the powers of the Scarlet Witch, that she would prevent all of that destruction. And I think that they said like even the destruction of the multiverse, or Wong said something that was in the nature of some catastrophic event happening, which of course starts the incursions and all of that other stuff. But how do we feel in the sense of it being where Agatha's coming out? We do have this acknowledgement that we are getting a WonderMan, and WonderMan is a pretty solid freaking actor, like a high up there actor. And now we're getting the talks of a Vision show. Like, where does that put us in that sense? Like, what does it look like we're going to be looking at for each one of these characters going into the future for the MCU?
I don't know. We don't know where any of these characters are. Wanda's under a pile of rubble. Vision dipped, and we haven't even introduced ourselves to Wonder Man yet. So I have no idea what this looks like. I have no idea what kind of connective tissue is here yet. I think that's the whole point of the Agatha Harkness show. Wanda has been confirmed, or Elizabeth Olsen has been confirmed for Agatha, so she's in at least one episode. So I'm assuming once we watch that show, which I had been anticipating as soon as it was announced that that show was coming out, I
remember you talking about it. You were super doped about it.
Yeah, I'm a Catherine Hahn fan, so like I would love to see more of this character. So I think all the questions that you're asking, if we get any answer within the near future, we should get some in the Agatha Harkness show.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Well, yeah. You know me, man. I'm always excited for anything that's coming out. I've always talked about it before, where it's a great time to be alive, that we're actually getting all of this stuff that we can actually complain about, which is cool. Do we know if it's going to be good? No, we don't know if it's going to be good yet, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. The only thing I know that we're looking forward to is next week. It's next week already, right?
Next week,
the premiere of Black Panther 2. Really excited. I excited to see how they're going to do this story with Namor, or Namor, however they choose to pronounce it now. Really excited to see what they're going to do with the
you can still get tickets by you.
Huh?
You can still get tickets by you. You're not sold out at your
straight. Yeah. We can still get tickets.
Nice.
Yeah. Most def. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure I get that this coming week. I told you we're going to get them this weekend. So for sure, I'm going to get them this weekend, and I'm going to be there right there, boy. I just got to know what time you're going to get it at, so that way I can make sure I watch it around the same time.
I'm taking the day off. So I got a noon showing on Friday. So I have a noon showing on Friday. So I'll have to dodge all of the early reviews on everything on Thursday. And then by the time I get up and get my stuff together and stay off of social media, I'll be there at noon.
Very, very cool. Very cool. You know, Jonathan just made a really good comment. He put Scarlet Witch will be a surprise cameo in some of these shows. They won't announce it. They won't announce it when, but she's going to be their secret weapon.
Yeah, I know. I know she's going to be in the Agatha show. I don't know if she's going to be in anything else, but
I think more than likely it'll probably be like flashbacks or maybe something like that. Not like, I don't know if they're going to really take from the ending of Doctor Strange 2 with that, like pass on, but they will bring flashbacks in. But Elizabeth Olsen has done an amazing job with the character. I love what she does. I like every time she's on screen. She's amazing. I'm so cool with her being on scene. You can make a whole movie about her again. I'd still watch it. But yeah, straight up, really excited for next week. We got Black Panther 2 coming out next week. Are you guys going to go check it out? Are you guys going to watch it? If are, put in the comments that you're down. 10 out of 10. Let us know what you guys think. Hit us up in the DMs during the week if you get the opportunity to go watch it. Send us messages. Let us know what your first thoughts were. No spoilers, guys. Don't be mean. Send us crazy stuff. Maybe we get a Kang cameo in Black Panther. Vince, you're a crazy guy, dude. Mad lad. No, probably not, dude. But really excited nonetheless. Black Panther is going to be an interesting movie, man. I'm really excited to watch it, guys. Thank you again for coming out on the show with us. We're going to end it early. There's really not much to talk about this week. It's been a really great time hanging with each and every one of you. You know we love you guys. If you got anything during the week that you guys want us to check out, make sure you guys hit us up. We hope you had a great Halloween. My Hero Academia just brought back Shigaraki, so fucking A with that comeback. That was great. Chainsaw Man is looking super fucking cool. Jonathan, thank you for jumping on the show tonight. It was really cool having you on and great points and conversation with you. Michael Bettencourt, damn it, bro. You come in at the last fucking part of the conversation. My theory is we start at the end of Doctor Strange and the Coven summons Wanda to lock her in place and rehab. My God, they might as well summon Ezra Miller too, man, if we're talking rehab. Mike, it's good to hear from you, man. I miss you, man. South Texas, STCE next week. Come down if you can. It's going to be in Laredo. Go check it out. It's a Comic-Con that they have in Laredo. It's going to be very entertaining. Guys, we love every one of you. To all our extraordinary listeners, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate every one of you. We hope you have a great weekend. Kick ass, read comics, love each other, and we'll see you guys again next week here on the Average Boys Podcast. We love you. Peace. Thank you.